tanks of gas. Grab that cash with both hands and make a stash.
Okay, prepare to have your mind bent for a moment, because we are going back to this day in 2011. Now, you got to be wondering, hang on a second. Farwell, didn't you just play a Pink Floyd song? Wasn't Pink Floyd a big band of the 1970s? How could we be going back to this day in 2011? I'm glad you asked that question, because here is your answer. It was on this day, June the 11th, 2011, that The Dark Side of the Moon, yes, that album from Pink Floyd, released in 1973, re-entered the Billboard album chart at number 47. So just let that sink in. Almost 40 years after it was released, Dark Side of the Moon, the album, re-enters the Billboard charts and reached the milestone of 1,000 weeks on Billboard's album chart. That's like 20 years on the charts. The album was released in 1973, has done consistently well, reaching number one on more than one occasion. And one of the singles from that album, I mean, they're all great. I chose Money today. Pink Floyd from The Dark Side of the Moon, which re-entered the album charts on this day in 2011. Good Thursday morning. Thank you very much for being here. You know it is muggy outside and in this studio when you pick up your headphones and a bookmark is stuck to them. I almost poked myself in the eye, but then the bookmark fell off and everything was fine. Also, very quickly, I am sorry. I had my times wrong yesterday when I was telling you about our Smash Burger event today at Four Quarter Butcher Shop on Louisa Street. It will start at 4 p.m. Yesterday I said 3. I don't know what I was thinking. I probably just wanted more Smash Burgers, and who could blame me for that? But please, if you would like to join us for Smash Burgers today in support of Farwell for Hire and cystic fibrosis research, please come to Four Quarter Butcher Shop on Louisa Street near Weber in Kitchener between 4 and 6. We will fill your belly, I promise, and we will fill our fundraising total in support of cystic fibrosis research. Four Quarter Butcher Shop today from 4 until 6. Also, here's your warning. Talk Show Dad has to come out this morning. I don't like doing this any more than you like being on the receiving end of it, but we got a little issue we need to work out, okay? And I will get to that, I promise, but our phone lines are already busy this morning, and I will start there with Jersey Bill. Good morning, Billy.
Good morning, and I guess I have to say this. Go New York, go New York, go! Actually, I'm not that big a fan, but has to be said, that tremendous comeback that the Knicks did last night. To be quite honest with you, I really wasn't that involved when I was alive when they won that last title in the 70s and 73, but actually I was more involved with Bill. I forget his name now. The Senators, Bill Bradley's 2000 presidential campaign, which I volunteered for in Iowa. It went absolutely nowhere, but I was more involved with that than I was being a Knicks fan ever. I also have to say, in terms of what we're left with for the Stanley Cup, we're down to looking at Canadian content, and I checked it, and I think Las Vegas beats Carolina 15-9 in terms of Canadian content. And I sort of wonder, we got the Sun Belt teams again, and I think if expansion happens, maybe they need to get into Africa and South America and Asia. Why stop in the American Sun Belt? We need a Mexican City team. Take it worldwide, and if you can't do the ice, maybe you got to go to roller skates and hardwood floors or something.
Billy, appreciate the call as always. I appreciate all of your input on this show. It is the most interactive radio show anywhere in this region. 519-570-2545, star 570, 1-800-570-5715. Phone lines open the minute we begin the show every day. Quickly on what Billy had to say, expanding the National Hockey League beyond the Sun Belt and into other countries. Don't give Gary Bettman any ideas, please and thank you. And I think we should still call the New York Knicks the New York Knickerbockers. And that's all I've got to say about that. Doug is with us this morning as well. Good morning, Doug.
Good morning, Mike. Well, I was absent for a couple of days, but I was up north of Collingwood at the Living Water Resort and doing a little bit of a respite with some family, and it's quite something up there. But anyway, I watched that thing unfold last night, and I confess I was one of the people who probably switched away at one point because we were down almost 30 points. And I put back and I thought, well, we'll have a look and see where they're at. And they've shaped it to 15. Let's stay here and watch this. Unreal, absolutely. I love OG Anunoby. He's a former Raptor, but that was something to watch unfold. I'll never see anything like it again. I don't think so. I know you probably couldn't see it because you have to get your shut eye, but if you see anything like it, you're not going to believe it. That was absolutely wild.
Well, what's everybody talking about? What did I miss? Was there an eclipse last night? Were there shooting stars all over the sky? What happened? What? I'm not a basketball guy. I'm sorry. And I was actually, aside from basketball and not watching it because I just don't care for the sport. Like, here's my thing. Can I be honest with you? And it's funny because I have similar feelings about soccer, which kind of bores me to death because there's not enough action. But I have the opposite problem with basketball. Like, if you can score 50 or 60 times in a game, the game's too easy, right? Like, you know what I mean? You get 2 points for a basket, right? So you score 100 points. You've scored 50 times in a game. What are we doing here? Like, raise the nets or put more players on the floor? I don't know. Anyway, I don't care. And traveling. Whatever happened to it used to be 2 steps, you know. Mr. Lack in grade 7 at St. Anne's Elementary School in gym class. Oh, he was tough on you. If you took more than 2 steps, look out. He's going to throw a skipping rope at you or something. 2 steps was traveling, or 3. Now you take 4 or 5. I don't know what's going on with basketball. They score too much, okay? I'd like something a little more competitive instead of just outscoring the other one. Does that make me a bad person? I'm sorry. I paid precisely 0 attention to the basketball game last night. What I was doing last night was painting with Parkinson's. I do not have Parkinson's, but Walter Fernandez does. He was diagnosed in 2016, and he rediscovered art and painting as a form of therapy. It's a wonderful story. Walter is an incredible guy, and my beloved and I, as part of Farwell for Hire, were invited to spend an evening painting with Walter, and it was fantastic. On every level, except for the artwork that I produced. I am a terrible artist. Like, I'm as bad at art as I am about watching basketball, apparently. But it was a great night. Learned a lot about Walter and what he does and why he does it, and it was utterly fantastic. Also yesterday, during Farwell for Hire, I had the chance to visit with my good friends, Paul and Arlene. We met during the campaign years ago. Now they just used the campaign as an excuse to have me come over and enjoy a butter tart, and we'll talk about life and solve the city's problems. Neither Paul nor I we don't like the new garbage collection system in this town. I'm still trying to figure this one out. Like, you took a program that was working fine, and you changed it so it doesn't work as fine anymore. But that's aside. And we're both also, all 3 of us are big Leafs fans, and so my favorite part about our visit yesterday was Paul reminded me that we, the royal we, with the Toronto Maple Leafs, have the first overall pick in the draft later this month. We have the first overall pick. I got excited about that because I forgot, just like I apparently forgot there was a basketball game last night. Speaking of Farwell for Hire, another reminder, 4 to 6 today, 4 Quarter Butcher Shop on Louisa. Come and join us for some smash burgers. We'll grill them up, you put them in your belly, and we raise money for cystic fibrosis research. All right, it is 11 minutes after 9, and time for Talk Show Dad to come out here for a moment, because we've got ourselves a real problem here. And I'm being serious about this. I feel like I'm being the father that I had growing up, giving me the stern lecture when I am getting out of line. And we seem to have gotten ourselves out of line in a pretty big way. I don't know if you've heard, but it's been fairly widely reported, the awful abuse, and I will use that word deliberately, abuse that Cambridge Mayor Jan Liggett has taken since she interrupted that speech at the Pride flag raising event in Cambridge. Let me be clear about this. Mayor Jan was 100% wrong, in my opinion, to interrupt that speech. And we have every right to say to Mayor Jan that we think she was wrong. And that's about it. Like, some of the language and threats that have been directed at the mayor of Cambridge and the staff at the fine city of Cambridge is so far offside. Like, when I was reading some of the commentary, I was blown away. At what point did we think we had the right to use that kind of language and issue those kinds of threats over an action by the mayor that we didn't agree with? We are absolutely allowed to disagree. We are absolutely allowed to say, and I will again, Mayor Jan, you got it wrong when you interrupted Sophie Mills during their speech at the Pride flag raising. And that's the end of it. We can disagree and we can move on. We can express our disagreement. And let's tie this into the City of Waterloo Council meeting on Monday, when Bob Henderson, the Director of Transportation Services, was making a presentation to Waterloo City Council about the snow clearing over the winter and the challenges that this brutal winter presented to municipalities, in this case specifically Waterloo, of clearing all that snow. I've known Bob for a long time. He's a good fella. He really is. Bob was on this show recently to talk about that, what I would call goofy bike path they added near Waterloo City Hall, which is right next to the Spurline Trail, which, again, I have disagreed with Bob on the necessity for the path because it's so close to the trail. I think it's redundant. I think the city of Waterloo made a mistake and wasted money. I'm allowed to say that, but that's where it stops. How about what Bob Henderson was telling Waterloo Council on Monday about what this winter was like for snow clearing crews?
These past two winters have certainly exacerbated frustrations for a number of reasons. In the past, we typically saw people either yelling at drivers or throwing shovels at the trucks, but it seems to be escalating to the point where people are trying to enter the vehicles and get to the drivers and attack them. So, yeah, we've been looking at mitigating measures to deter that kind of behavior through potentially the use of forward-facing camera technology to essentially deter that behavior. I've heard of municipalities using signs on the side of the vehicles saying that they're being monitored with cameras. So we're hoping that behavior curtails through that process if we decide to pursue it.
I'm not going to sit here and lie to you this morning and tell you that I'm some kind of angel who has never lost his temper, because that would be a flat-out lie. But I can tell you, in all honesty, that I never, not one time ever, have thrown my shovel at the plow when it's gone by. Have I maybe muttered under my breath? Because I've been that guy. I've lived in this town for 50 plus years, and I've shoveled many a driveway. And on occasion, I have been in that driveway when the plow comes down the street and fills in the bottom of it. Do I mutter and curse? Absolutely. But do I throw a shovel at the vehicle? Do I attempt to get into the vehicle and attack the driver? I understand what's happening here. Our extreme frustration, and you heard me bitch and moan all winter. I know you did. I do not like the winter, Sam. I am. You cannot make me eat those green eggs and ham in wintertime. I don't like it at all. I loathe the winter. It was brutal this winter for me too. But when did we start behaving like this? Throwing things, trying to attack the driver who is just doing their job? Uttering threats and using the most awful language directed towards an elected official? This is so far off base. And listen, I know I'm preaching to the choir here, right? You are Farwell's force, a force for good, a force for change, a force to be reckoned with. Absolutely. So let's use our collective force here to model better behavior, because this is so far offside. And I don't know how we got here, but we got to get out of here and get back to being more civil towards one another. Talk show dad in the house today.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
All right, let's get to your Farwell Show 5 for this Thursday morning, the 11th of June. Number 1, the FIFA World Cup opens today in Mexico with the first two of 104 soccer matches in the weeks ahead. Canada plays its first match tomorrow. Now, meantime, our Secretary of State for Sport is dismissing concerns about the costs of co-hosting the FIFA World Cup. In an interview with the Canadian Press, Adam Van Couverden says the tournament has brought crucial upgrades to the stadiums in Vancouver and Toronto, which will improve the types of events those venues can host. An Angus Reid poll released this week suggests 70% of residents in Toronto and Vancouver believe the public costs of hosting are not worth the disruption. Number 2, Toronto police say one of their officers was shot in an exchange of gunfire in the city's West End early this morning. Police say officers were executing a search warrant when there was an exchange of gunfire and an officer was hit. The officer is now in hospital. His condition not yet known. Number 3 on your Farwell Show 5 this morning, the OPP officer who was killed in the line of duty near Hearst this week was a former bylaw enforcement officer for the city of Kitchener. Mayor Barry Verbanovic issuing a statement saying that Constable Tarun Bali worked for the city from 2021 to 2023 before joining the OPP. The statement says Bali made a lasting impression on those around him, and his kindness and dedication will not be forgotten. Number 4, an internal government report says most guns involved in crime and traced by Mounties came from within Canada. The Canadian Press used the Access to Information Act to obtain the reports from 2 RCMP firearms-related squads. The vast majority of crime guns traced to identifiable sources in both 2023 and 2024 originated in Canada and were not smuggled from abroad. The analyses found almost all of the long guns traced, and a substantial number of the handguns were domestically sourced. And number 5 on your Farwell Show 5 this morning, after days of conflicting reports, Canada and the U.S. will delay the official opening of the Gordie Howe Bridge between Windsor and Detroit. Reports earlier this week suggested a ribbon cutting was planned for tomorrow to open the bridge after months of uncertainty. However, U.S. President Donald Trump posted on social media several months ago that he would not allow the bridge to open until the U.S. was compensated. By the way, we paid for the whole bridge, all $6.4 billion, just for the record. Ontario Premier Doug Ford also said this week he was hearing 2 different stories about the bridge opening. A statement from the Windsor-Detroit Bridge Authority says both countries have agreed to delay the opening of the bridge, taking the necessary time to resolve any outstanding issues.
As God is my witness, I thought turkeys could fly.
And that is your Farwell Show 5 for this Thursday morning, the 11th of June. And we're just getting word in that the Toronto police officer I just mentioned, who had been involved in an exchange of gunfire early this morning in Toronto, has died. That information coming from the Toronto Star moments ago. Your morning wake-up call is coming up. Either you can make it or I will. This is the Mike Farwell Show on 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. Have I mentioned the most interactive radio program you'll find anywhere in the region? We like to live up to that reputation. So let's get right back to the phones and hear more from you on our morning wake-up call. Joe, good morning.
Good morning, Mike. Yeah, I haven't reached out since the Mem Cup. Didn't miss a game up at the lake. None of us. It was awesome. But I got to worry about what was the cost of bringing in those two guys that were instrumental in the win to the Hunters. You know what I mean? Those guys, they're not stupid, and they'll be back on top in no time. So I really worry about what we had to give up to get there.
Well, it's a fair question, but and I've gone over this in my mind a few times too. But when you win the ultimate prize, you win the championship, the Memorial Cup, doesn't that make the cost, whatever it was, automatically worth it?
Absolutely. I can't argue with that. I just worry about the future. But one more point. Remember when we had that argument last year about Guerrero being the worst contract in sports history? Well, they went on to the World Series, so you proved me wrong. Well, what about this time? The guy can't hit sand if he fell off a camel. So isn't it a moot point if they don't even make the playoffs?
You're giving up already, are you, Joe?
No, I'm not giving up, but I don't even think they're going to make the playoffs at this point. You can't win if you can't score. And the highest paid player, $500 million, couldn't hit the ocean on a one-man island. So it's not looking good, man.
All right, Joe. I appreciate it. I love hearing from you. It's good to be back. Just on the point, I've tried hard about this. It's Talk Show Dad again, the Mem Cup. It's the Memorial Cup. And I know, we don't want to use all the syllables, but remember that this trophy was created and awarded in honor of our veterans. So I like to use the full version of it, just like the Kitchener Memorial Auditorium. It's the Memorial Cup, but whatever. You can do you, but Talk Show Dad would appreciate if we threw all the syllables in there. On the Vlad Jr. point, listen, if you are signing a 14-year, $500 million contract, yes, it would be expected that you are playing at an elite level throughout those 14 years. And I don't think there was any question that Vlad Jr. was elite during the playoffs last year. He's been far less than elite so far this year. We shall see. I'm not yet writing off the entirety of the Blue Jays season. Baseball playoffs are so watered down now. There's plenty of time to squeeze your way into the postseason, but I can understand the frustration when we came off a Game 7 World Series final appearance and we're kind of sputtering along this year. And, Max Scherzer, what are we going to do? We got to just let the guy go, right? Off to the Hall of Fame for you, Max. We need to put somebody in the starting rotation that can, pitch. Anyway, okay, we're going to get you to the 570 News Center for an update. And then let's talk encampments, specifically the myths that surround the existence of and people within those encampments. That conversation coming up on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. As you no doubt know by now, the encampment, which has for years been in place at the corner of Weber and Victoria Street in Kitchener, will be allowed to remain there. Yet another, because there have been multiple, court ruling has decided that unless these folks have a better option, then the option they currently have is going to be sufficient. They have a right to shelter on that public land, even if it is holding up construction of a transit terminal in Kitchener. That's what we learned from the courts a couple of weeks ago. Where are we at today in terms of our understanding of encampments and all of the inner workings of a court ruling just like this? Ashley Skydema is the Executive Director of Waterloo Region Community Legal Services and joins us to talk about it. Ashley, good morning.
Hi, good morning.
So, Premier Ford, let's start there. He was pretty critical of the latest decision by Justice Gibson. He called it cockamamie and suggested that perhaps we should have folks pitch their tents in the judge's backyard and see how he likes it. This decision that the Ontario Superior Court has just issued, allowing encampment residents to stay, Ashley, does that mean anybody could pitch a tent in anybody's backyard and be allowed to stay there?
So no, definitely not. And thanks for asking that question. I mean, some of the comments made by the Premier are one of the reasons why we decided to issue a press release citing the top 5 myths and facts related to this decision, and that's one of them. So the Charter only applies to government property, government decisions. So it doesn't apply to private property, and this ruling doesn't mean that anyone can set up a tent in your backyard or that they would be entitled to stay. It's just about government. So that's something that we're hoping we can dispel, because it's absolutely not true. I'm happy to answer your questions, but there's a number of other myths that we think are really important to dispel. I mean, I heard you say at your opening about how it's holding up transit. I mean, I think a caveat that would be important for your listeners to know is that this Metrolinx project has been delayed multiple times. Even throughout this litigation, Metrolinx keeps pushing back their deadline unrelated to the people living at the encampment. So that those timelines are definitely in flux, and I don't think it's necessarily fair to say that the encampment is what's holding up the project.
One of the other myths that you would like to dispel, and it's one I admit to having a hard time with, because I feel one of the challenges we have when it comes to clearing encampments is finding suitable space for those who are living in encampments. And by suitable, I mean, from what I've learned over these many years, Ashley, it's that, certain congregate settings may not work for some folks because they've experienced trauma in those congregate settings before. Maybe the shelter doesn't allow the use of drugs, for example, so that's not suitable for them. How can we, we've got 30 or 35 people at this encampment, and there's nowhere else that they can go? Don't they have some sort of option, a motel room, a shelter, something?
So, I mean, it's not just those 30, right? I think another thing is there's not people that have been living at this encampment for 5 years straight. People, it ebbs and flows. People come and go for shorter periods of time as they find something and then get evicted or lose something, or they're couch surfing and their family kicks them out, or whatever the situation may be. So it's not really just about this 30. It's actually about the broader population of people experiencing homelessness in Waterloo Region, and that number is well over 2,000. So yes, maybe perhaps they could find motel beds for 30 people. And originally the region's bylaw said, we're going to say there's 40 residents here. We're going to commit to finding something for those 40. But that really leaves in the lurch all the people that come and go from that encampment. It's not really just about a static group of 40 or a static group of 30, because people come and go all the time. And it's the only place in the region where people are legally allowed to set up a tent. Anywhere else, they're getting ticketed, they're getting fined, they're getting moved along. So that's the one part. The other part is around the accessibility piece. So there's a whole bunch of reasons why certain things don't work. So a really good example is in Waterloo Region, there's no shelter space where couples can live together. So if you're a heterosexual couple in Waterloo Region, you don't have a choice. There's no shelter where you can go to and be together. You have to split up and hope that you'll get a bed, which you probably won't, or you can set up a tent somewhere. So those are your options. For women in Kitchener, there's no 24-hour shelter. So women that stay at the emergency overnight shelter, they get kicked out in the morning at 7 a.m. or maybe at 8 a.m. And they're expected to just take their belongings with them and wander around throughout the day. So if you can imagine, if you've had a bad sleep, you're in a communal setting, you're maybe not sleeping well, and you're expected to just wander around throughout the day. Maybe you're trying to go to a job interview, you're trying to find somewhere to have a shower. That's a major barrier. Right? There's nowhere 24/7 where women in Kitchener can actually be and exist and rest and have privacy. So it's not just about the barriers that you've mentioned. There's so many more. And I had a client who was a woman who said she walks with a cane, and she couldn't actually stay at the women's shelter because the beds were so close together. She couldn't actually even navigate between the beds with her cane. So there's physical disability barriers that aren't being met. There's mental health disability barriers that aren't being met. So that's one of the problems. And then the other problem is that there's just not enough. We have 300 and something emergency shelter spaces in our community to try to meet the need of over 2,000 people who are experiencing homelessness. So there's a fight every night for those resources.
One of the other things that was discussed, and I believe it was Regional Councillor Pam Wolf who brought it forward, was to create a space, a public space, where encampments could reside, as opposed to this corner of Weber and Victoria, for example. I mean, if we believe in this community in housing for all, why should we be okay with that housing being a tent?
Yeah, I mean, it's just because housing for all is a long-term goal, and it's a very important goal, and we want everyone to have housing, but it's not going to happen overnight. And in the meantime, people need somewhere where they can exist, where they can have a safe place to close their eyes and get some rest throughout the night, where they're not going to be on a bench or on the sidewalk. And so that was actually what the court ordered. The court said, you're not stopped from moving forward with your plan. You can still continue to clear this property, but what you need to do is you need to develop a protocol that sets out where people are allowed to set up tents, or you need to provide an alternative site, because it's just the reality of where we're living in this moment. So housing for all, important goal. We need to keep working at it. We need to work harder and faster. But in the meantime, people need somewhere where they can live and survive.
Going back to Ontario Premier Doug Ford, he has hinted at, I don't think the words have come directly out of his mouth, but hinted at applying the notwithstanding clause to overrule what Justice Gibson ruled. What would you think about the use of the notwithstanding clause to clear this encampment?
I find it really troubling to hear that our Premier is considering using the notwithstanding clause when a court has found violations of the most vulnerable people in our community, violations of their charter rights, Section 7 and Section 15. And Section 7 is, to my mind, it's such an important charter value. It's your right to life. So it means your government is not allowed to take actions that are going to risk or harm or cause you to lose your life. And so if your government is found by a court that their actions or their laws are going to risk your right to life, and then we have a government saying, we'll just use the notwithstanding, we're going to overrule that. I find that very disturbing. It's scary. I don't want to live in a society where our government's so willy-nilly willing to override such an important charter value and right. And I hope it raises alarm bells for everyone.
What, Ashley, do you see as the solution to this? Because I think we all agree that what we're seeing here is a symptom of a much bigger problem. So how do we solve this problem of all of the encampments and all of the people who are unsheltered?
I mean, for right now, I think it's a really simple solution. I think the court's outlined it. Just provide an alternative site. People can move over to that site, and then they can move forward with the transit project. Or develop a protocol, which other communities have, which set out tenting areas where it's okay, and the government can decide, if they don't want it within a certain number of meters from a school or a park, they can determine what green space is okay and what's off limits. They can determine the size of the encampment. So maybe they don't want 50 people at one encampment. Maybe they're okay with having 5 people at an encampment. The government could make all of those decisions in a protocol. And we see other communities doing it, and as a solution to dealing with the issues that we're experiencing at the time, which is this housing crisis and this number of people experiencing homelessness that continues to grow and grow. So in the interim, I think that's a really easy solution, and it's not one that is liked. People don't like encampments, but it is just the reality of where we're living. We don't have enough housing. We need to solve that, but in the meantime, we need something better than just continuously evicting people and displacing them.
Ashley, I appreciate the time on the show today. Thank you very much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Ashley Skidema is the Executive Director of Waterloo Region Community Legal Services. They issued a media release last week outlining the top 5 myths and facts about the Waterloo Region Encampment Case. And we get into those details in the conversation this morning. So Ashley says it's pretty simple. If we just set up legally zoned encampment spaces around our community, that solves this problem. Then these folks can relocate from Weber and Victoria to the newly zoned and legal encampment space, and we can get about the business of building that transit terminal. I will just say, at a bit of a tangent here, Ashley is spot on when she talks about the delays that have happened even prior to or irrespective of the encampment being at that street corner. Don't even get me started on my frustration with this transit terminal, which is coming on a decade of zero progress. We'll just put that aside. What do you think of the idea of legally zoned encampment spaces around our community? Let's not forget something else we talked about on the show this week, and that is the number of people who are currently living in RVs or other trailers in carpool lots in and around Ontario because they can't afford housing. Rents are too high. Mortgages are completely out of reach. These are people who are working and can't afford the cost of shelter. How do we square this circle? Would love to get your thoughts. Phone lines are open to you, and we'll start taking calls right after this on the Mike Farwell Show. This is 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
That was actually what the court ordered. The court said, you're not stopped from moving forward with your plan, but what you need to do is you need to develop a protocol that sets out where people are allowed to set up tents, or you need to provide an alternative site, because it's just the reality of where we're living in this moment. So housing for all, important goal. We need to keep working at it, and we need to work harder and faster. But in the meantime, people need somewhere where they can live and survive.
Ashley Skydema is the executive director of the Waterloo Region Community Legal Services Organization. Joins us this morning to dispel some myths around encampments and offer what she believes is a pretty simple solution. Just zone places around the region where people can legally pitch a tent. It's as simple as that. And then they can be relocated from Victoria and Weber to wherever that newly zoned and legal location is. Does that sound like the solution you are looking for? 519-570-2545, star 570, and 1-800-570-5715. Randy, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm all right. So let's talk about this homeless situation. Yeah, we do definitely have an issue, a very serious issue. But we have immigrants that are coming into Canada and coming into this area, and then, they end up with a residence to live, but yet there are all kinds of other people on the street, and we see it daily. Like, I live in Guelph, and I deal with it on a regular basis with my job, and it's incredible what is actually happening. I picked up people in a hotel, and they had 2 children and a husband and wife, and they're going to rent a house. A husband and wife, 2 children, and they're going to rent a house, and neither one of them are working, and they're living off government funds.
I would be shocked if they can actually afford the house rent on whatever support payments are provided. And I'll just be clear about this. I will dismiss entirely and immediately the notion that immigration has played a role in all of this. It's way bigger than that. It is way bigger than that. Yes, we had to close the taps, and we have federally. And it's caused all kinds of challenges to infrastructure in this country. But what we're seeing here ain't that. Not from where I'm sitting anyway. Mary, good morning.
Good morning. Mike with a mic? Hey, Mike, my favorite guy is going to be on today.
Yes, he is. Gary Chalk, living retired, 10:30 this morning. What do you think about legally zoned encampments, Mary?
What I think is we dropped the ball a long time ago. Finland took it right up and got everybody a home, and from there on they could get a job and start their life. The region has spent a lot of money on court cases and fooling around over all these years. surely to goodness, and security, and this and that, surely to goodness someone could find, with that money, to find tiny homes or something. This is not compassionate at all.
Mary, I hear where you're coming from. And you want to talk about money. How about $65 million locally here in the region on our plan to end chronic homelessness? $65 million. What do we have to show for that? I was talking just the other day about that wartime catalog of homes that the federal government was going to introduce. Do you remember that? Justin Trudeau was still prime minister when that idea came forward and it was met with great fanfare. Where's my catalog? Just out of curiosity. We had Brian Paul, the executive director of Supportive Housing of Waterloo, on the show yesterday. And Supportive Housing of Waterloo is in the midst of a capital campaign. It's pretty quiet right now. I'm sure we'll be hearing more about it. But as they work towards a $3.3 million capital fundraising goal to support 10 modular units on land that Supportive Housing of Waterloo already owns/maintains. So you do the quick math, it's $330,000 per modular unit. Now, I think that also includes the support that comes with the housing that Supportive Housing of Waterloo will be providing. So it's not just the structure. But I've got to ask, where are those kinds of ideas? The shipping container ideas. I've seen some of these demonstrated before, and they make a decent, albeit small, but secure place to live. How are we not moving on solutions like this? Modular homes that can be built in factories and erected in a day. Tiny homes, as Mary says. And again, where's my wartime catalog of homes for folks? We've got to find. Well, we know these opportunities exist. I'm trying to wrap my head around the idea that they can't be built. They're not being built. I don't know. But for $65 million just locally, I'm rather shocked that there is not a single housing solution. Where is it? Unless we're counting what's happening out and operated by the Working Centre out Erbs Road. And also, $65 million locally. We really have to remember here, it's imperative that we remember here that upper levels of government, both provincial and federal, have fumbled the ball and failed us all in this regard. It can't be just on the backs of municipalities. Randy said earlier he's seen it everywhere. So have I. I just got back from Kelowna, British Columbia. It's there too. Every community I travel to for my work in the Ontario Hockey League, it's there. Everywhere. Where's the province? Where are the feds in this? It's a shameful dereliction of duty from where I'm sitting. This is the Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. Well, I mentioned just before that update with Mark in the 570 News Center that upper levels of government have really failed on the housing/homelessness file. This cannot be all on the backs of municipalities. And that's the case in Ontario, by the way. I'll just remind you that we are the only jurisdiction in all of the land, the only province or territory where the cost of social housing is borne by the municipalities. The province does not chip in. But, you know, it's hard to get any movement on an issue like this when you can't hold the government's feet to the fire during question period. And you won't be able to do that for another 20 weeks because this is the start of week 2 of the 21-week summer recess as our provincial government is taking a break until after the municipal elections. Catherine Fife is the NDP MPP representing Waterloo and joins us this morning for a chat. Good morning, Catherine.
Well, good morning, Mike. Thanks for having me on the show.
As always, I appreciate the time that you make for us. It's got to be difficult to be in opposition in this province right now, Catherine, because how can you oppose anything when there's nothing being discussed at Queen's Park?
Yeah, I mean, this, as you mentioned, we only sat for 30 days in this last session, Mike, after a 14-week winter recess. It is, it's our job as the official opposition to bring the voices of Ontarians to the legislature to try to hold the government to account, but also to propose solutions, which we were very focused on in this last session. Unfortunately, Doug Ford doesn't like to go to work, and he rarely shows up, actually, at question period. But it is an important part of, the democratic process, and it's, sometimes you can actually shame the government into moving forward. However, this is a government that, is now absolutely drowning in scandal. And the private jet purchase with taxpayer dollars, I think, put the government over the edge. They really didn't want to talk about how that decision was made, especially, as you pointed out, in a housing crisis.
So we've got the premier right now down in the United States trying to arrange meetings for, I don't know, goodness knows what and goodness knows why, and not having their feet held to the fire here in the province. You mentioned that you don't think Premier Ford likes to work, doesn't show up all that often. What is your, and look, you've been at this a while, Catherine. You've got some experience as an MPP here. What is your perception of how Premier Ford does his job?
Well, I mean, he loves to distract with his own personal projects, right? I mean, the Billy Bishop expansion in Toronto with its Fantasy Island will be a costly mistake. He's been very focused on the Science Centre and Ontario Place, and all of these are very costly decisions, all the while he's under criminal investigation by the RCMP. So he is very focused on his projects and his desires as a premier. And with his latest trip down to the U.S., I mean, he likes to pretend that he's the prime minister and puts on this Captain Canada act, Mike. However, at the end of the day, that just cost us more money, and there was no results coming out of that visit. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce would not even meet with the premier. So in many respects, he likes things to be about himself, and instead of focusing on the people that were elected to serve. And right now, the people of Ontario are hurting, quite honestly. And housing is really at the heart of those issues.
You talked about the solutions that you and your fellow NDP MPPs were trying to put forward in this really short 30-day session between a 14-week winter recess and now 21 weeks. It's kind of interesting. 35 weeks of recess with 30 days of sitting in between. But what solutions were you working on putting forward?
We were looking at affordability issues and also at the economy and jobs potential, right? So on the affordability, I mean, in a housing crisis, further destabilizing people out of their rental units is an issue. So we really were pushing to stabilize the rental income, the rental costs for Ontarians. We put forward motions around surveillance pricing on groceries because we are seeing great discrepancies from store to store. And of course, we're focused always on education, and that included the OSAP changes, Mike. And sorry. And with every example, the government shot us down. And even though their own stakeholders and their own ridings are supportive of anything that we can do to make life more affordable, it's not the job of government to make the lives of the people you're elected to serve more difficult. It's actually to focus on some of those solutions. And I think that the people of Ontario quite honestly expect us to be focused on them and not on these vanity projects like the tunnel under the 401 that Doug Ford still seems very dedicated to. So these are challenging times for Ontarians. They expect their politicians to actually be working as hard as they are and showing up for work. And unfortunately, we've been shut out of the legislature until October 27th.
That point about being shut out of work, and optically, I just think it's awful, bluntly, because you're right, Ontarians are working very hard, perhaps harder than ever. We also recognize, Catherine, that, you and I are having this conversation this morning in the midst of the early days of this recess. There is work that gets done in one's constituency. It's much different than the work that happens at Queen's Park. But how do you spend these 21 weeks?
Yeah, I mean, you're quite right. I mean, it's not a vacation per se, but it is a place where I take concerns of people in Waterloo Region and solutions to Queen's Park. And that is not going to happen, which is, I think, embarrassing, quite honestly. The casework still continues, but the problem with that, Mike, is that the casework, the demands around mental health and access to health care and affordable housing, these are issues that need provincial leadership as well, because you also mentioned in your opening comments that municipalities can't do this work themselves, right? They need a true partner in the provincial government. So my work over the next 21 weeks will be out across the province. I'm still, even though they voted against Lydia's law, I'm still meeting with folks across the province on that bill. And the Tariff Response Council that I chair on behalf of Mart Stiles and the Ontario NDP, we will continue to meet and amplify economic solutions around procurement during these very challenging times. So the work is going to continue. It just looks very different. And we need provincial leadership on many of these files.
Thanks to the snap election a little over a year ago and the overwhelming majority with which the Progressive Conservatives were reelected, Catherine, it's at least 2029 before we're going back to the polls provincially. How frustrating is it as a member of the opposition in this climate?
Yeah, I mean, to be very honest, I mean, when the solutions are right there in front of you and we could be making a difference, it is frustrating. And quite honestly, you can be angry about it. I like to say that there's grace in the effort because a lot of effort is expended on trying to, improve the lives of people in our ridings. But I do sense, Mike, that there has been a tipping point here. People are not buying what this premier and his government are selling, and because they've seen who he really is. And this purchase of a $30 million private luxury jet is indicative of really just the patent display of disdain for our democracy and for voters in Ontario. So I think that you're going to see more MPPs from the PC caucus defect and leave the legislature. I think you're going to see an embattled, unpopular premier start looking around for more distractions. And that is why we kind of need to be at Queen's Park, is to hold him to account for those distractions.
Catherine, as always, I appreciate your time on the show. Thank you for being here.
Thanks so much, Mike. Have a great day.
You too. Bye now. Catherine Fife is the NDP MPP for Waterloo. This is week 2 of the 21-week summer recess. October the 27th is when the province says it will get back to work at Queen's Park because it doesn't want to interfere with the municipal elections that are going on and the campaign that will be underway in greater earnest September through October the 26th. And then the day after that, the province will return, or MPPs will return to Queen's Park. I want to be clear that, as Catherine points out, and we all know, this is not a vacation per se. However, you think about 35 weeks with the 14-week winter recess and now the 21-week summer recess. That is 35 weeks of recess. And in the middle of that, there were 30 days of sitting in the house at Queen's Park. That rubs me the wrong way. I don't even know if I have words enough to express or words that I'm allowed to use on the radio, how much that chafes my chaps. Even for the sake of optics, what are you doing when the average Joe and the average Jane in this province is working so damn hard? Just give us the illusion that you're still going to your place of work and doing the business of governing this province. There are so many things that need attention, and yet we figure we can just go about our business in our own individual ridings and things will just, magically take care of themselves, just like that budget was once going to balance itself federally. I just find it frustrating, strictly from the perspective of optics. But really, if you're not at Queen's Park, even though I know you are doing work, the Premier's, running his junket down to the States now, I get it. And there will be other things done, and he'll be in the news talking about cheese slipping off crackers and all kinds of different things. Maybe, you remember when he dug somebody out during a winter snowstorm, right? Maybe he'll help somebody who's water skiing this summer up near the cottage. I don't know. We'll get some stories. We'll get some sound bites. They'll be folksy as they always are. But you can't pass legislation if you're not at Queen's Park. You can't face questions from the opposition if you're not at Queen's Park. And this just smacks of a whole duck and cover idea. I mentioned at the beginning of the show today, one of my Farwell for hire stops yesterday was with my friends Paul and Arlene, and we always talk about sports and we talk about politics, we talk about what's going on around town, and we seem to agree that whatever support we once had for Doug Ford has really begun to wear out, just based on the actions that we have seen most recently. You've got this freedom of information and the protection of the cell phone records and the $29 million jet. Sure, sell it back immediately at the same price, but how does a decision like that get made? Where is this $29 million suddenly coming from? I mean, we could talk about myriad issues, and I guess that's what you can do, or what you choose to do, when you have the strong majority that Doug Ford has. And in fairness, I mean, the opposition hasn't amounted to a lot in the way of opposition, have they? The Liberals are basically, I mean, could you even call them treading water still? They can't even find a ding-dang leader. And this is the situation we find ourselves in provincially. But I am personally offended by the fact that we're into a 21-week recess after sitting for just 30 days. I think that is offensive to the hardworking folks of Ontario, many of whom are right here in this region doing the work that you're doing today. This is the Mike Farwell Show on 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. It is a Thursday morning here on the program, and as you may have heard earlier from Mary, she's looking forward to our regular guest Thursday mornings at 10:30. Gary Chalk, who writes the humor column Living Retired, brings Living Retired to the radio just after the 10:30 update. It's one of Mary's favorite segments of the week. Also on Thursdays, at 11:30, we do a little something called the Flipside, which is a chance to take a break from the heavier stuff and have a little bit of fun. And I actually have my friends down the hall here in the radio building, along with us at 570 News Radio. We've got Country 106.7 and Chime 96.7 in the same building. And Brady and Tara, who do the morning show on Chime 96.7, we were chatting the other day, and they told me about an old TV show that is going to be brought back, thanks to, of all people, Seth Rogen. But it just got me thinking about some of those old TV shows that we used to love, and what other ones would we like to have come back? And if you don't know the one that is coming back, I think you'll get a kick out of it. We'll get into that just over an hour from now after the 11:30 a.m. news. It is 10:22.
Not everyone's a jackwagon. Not every heart is cold. Not every promise made to you is gonna turn to gold then fold. Some people mean it when they say they care. Some folks will show up, actually be there. So don't close the door on every soul you meet. Not everyone's a jackwagon on this street.
Oh, and we have found somebody right here in the fine city of Kitchener who happens to live over in the Country Hills neighborhood, if I'm going to be more specific about it. And not only is this young man not a jackwagon, I'll bet you he is looking more forward to the World Cup, which opens today, than anyone else here in the region. And I say that, I know, because there are a lot of footy fans. I know many of you have been anxiously anticipating the beginning of this World Cup, but I think for 12-year-old Arashi Bose, it's going to be even more special. Aryarshi has officially won the contest that allowed for his artwork to make up the Canada national team bus design. So when Canada's team pulls into Toronto Stadium, that's what we're calling it, right? It's pretty clever. Toronto Stadium tomorrow for its opening match against Bosnia-Herzegovina. It will bear the artwork of Aryarshi, a resident of Kitchener who won a contest to have his artwork displayed on Canada's national team bus. Not only that, but because his artwork was selected to be put on this national team bus, Aryarshi is in Toronto being hosted by a FIFA-led committee to celebrate this milestone. He's going to be at the game tomorrow. He's getting an official program and all kinds of other goodies for the artwork that he created that will be on the bus of Canada's national team. Congratulations to 12-year-old. Did I mention that part yet? 12-year-old Aryarshi Bose, a resident of the Country Hills neighborhood of Kitchener, who designed the winning artwork. And boy, oh boy, is he going to have a fun couple of days in Toronto as he watches that national team bus for Canada pull into Toronto Stadium, and his artwork will be on it. Think it's pretty cool, and I think it definitely means that Aryarshi is absolutely not a jackwagon. Are you looking forward to the World Cup getting underway? I've got a good friend, Ian, who is a passionate football fan, and he has said we have to get together and watch a soccer match, and I'm going to give it my best shot, primarily because it's going to involve a beverage or two at the Duke of Wellington when we get together. I'm all good. I'm there for that. You know, you might remember I took in my first Canadian Premier League soccer game last summer when I was on a road trip with a buddy. We went to the tennis tournament, the National Bank Open in Montreal. We saw a CFL game, which wasn't very good. And then we saw the soccer game in Ottawa on our way home, and it was dreadful. It was truly dreadful. And I thought, I'm never going to go to another soccer match. Well, I won't be in Toronto, but I will watch with my buddy if the schedules align. And it means, you know, coming out for a beer some afternoon. We'll watch England play. I'm there for it. We'll see how it goes. But hope you're looking forward to the World Cup. And congratulations again to Aryarshi Bose of Kitchener. 12 years old, his artwork on the Canada national team bus. An update on the way from the 570 News Center. And then it's time for Living Retired on the radio here on the Mike Farwell Show. 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
Hookah chaka, hookah, hookah, hookah chaka, hookah, hookah, hookah chaka, hookah, hookah, hookah chaka, hookah, hookah. I can't stop this feeling deep inside of me. Girl, you just don't realize what you do to me. When you hold me in your arms so tight, you let me know everything's alright. I'm hooked on a feeling.
And on Thursday mornings, just after the 10:30 news, it's the feeling that only Gary Chalk can bring. It's laughter as we have Living Retired on the radio. Gary writes a humor column. It's called Living Retired. You can find it online at livingretired.press. And while you're there, sign up to have the newsletter delivered right into your inbox every week. You can read Living Retired, and then Gary brings it to life here on the radio on Thursday mornings. And if you like the way this sounds, and I know you do because it's one of your favorite features, don't forget that Gary is more than happy to bring his unique talents to your corporate event, your retirement party, your service club, whatever it happens to be. Find him online, livingretired.press. Get in touch, and Gary would be happy to join you as he joins us every Thursday morning at this time. Mr. Chalk, good morning.
Good morning, Mike with a mic, Mary on her bike, Derek over in the UK, and Heather, who I met at your launch party at 3 Block Brewing a week ago.
Yeah, it was great. Oh, everybody's doing so well this morning, Gary.
Oh, that's good. And then I was at the asparagus event on Sunday over at Barry's Farm there. Oh, Jan told me that next year I have to wear a bib. I get that. I have so much of it. I've got it up my nostrils. I got it down my pants. It's beautiful tasting stuff.
How good is that, eh?
Ooh, I'll tell you. Hey, Mike, just the interns over here at the Living Retired World Headquarters, they asked me to check with you. Can they resume eating butter tarts? They were standing in unison with you there.
I appreciate your interns so much, Gary. And yes, we reached that magical fundraising target on our 50-50 raffle, so they can also begin to eat butter tarts again.
Boy, that's good. There's going to be a revolt, I tell you. Hey, you know what day today is?
What day is today?
It's Corn on the Cob Day.
Really?
Don't you think that's a little early? We don't even have fresh corn. Celebrating corn on the cob at this time of the year is sort of like celebrating, Groundhog Day in August. Like what's with that?
Listen, it felt like Groundhog Day over and over again this past winter. Don't remind me.
Oh, I'm telling you. Do you enjoy corn on the cob?
I love corn on the cob.
So do I. Corn on the cob sort of starts out civilized, right? You got your corn on the cob, and you got your butter, your salt, your pepper there, and then you launch into it. You end up looking like your child's first birthday party when you put the cake in front of them. It's all over you.
You were just talking about that with the asparagus, the deep-fried asparagus from Barry's Asparagus. Corn on the cob is the same result.
Yep, you got it. Hey, not only is it Corn on the Cob Day, but you've been talking about it. It's the start of the World Cup. Have you got your plastic Viking helmet with the horns on it yet?
I neither have that, Gary, nor a flag on my car. Am I doing it wrong? I don't know.
I don't know. I'm not much of a soccer fan. I try to watch it. I mean, here in Canada, the history of soccer doesn't go back as far as many countries over in Europe. I mean, it really, in our country, goes back to the days of the 60s with mothers driving vans and swearing at their kids for sitting in the field picking dandelions. That's the short history of, soccer in Canada.
I was one of those kids.
Yep, so was I. Hey, I'm not a big fan, but what I do know is the World Cup is similar to the Olympics, but without the French figure skating judges.
Oh, that makes it that much better, doesn't it?
Oh, it does.
Yeah.
Some of the big teams, I'm told, are Brazil, Germany, Italy, Argentina, Spain, England, the Netherlands. They're known for their soccer prowess. Well, here in Canada, we're known for our poutine prowess. That's why we're not into soccer, Mike. And another thing I know is that before a soccer game begins, the tattooed man bun players walk onto the field holding the hand of a young child. And Jan said, "Isn't that nice sportsmanship?" She was watching. But I said, "Dear, just wait. The game is going to start, and these modern-day Goliath, they're going to start running all over the field, kicking each other in their shins, and they'll fall down, apparently in pain that's worse than childbirth."
You reminded me of one of my least favorite parts of this game, Gary.
Yep. It just drives me nuts. They play it on a pitch. It's not called a field. It's called a pitch. And the term pitch comes from the word pitcher, which is a feature of European soccer. Thousands of inebriated adults drink beer by the pitcherful. Then they sing loud songs which have non-intelligible lyrics. Then they go on a rampage and tear the stadium apart. Such fun.
Soccer hooliganism.
Oh, and then here's I also know soccer referee. The pitch. The pitch is massive. They've only got one referee, and he runs around in a pair of shorts, and he blows a whistle when a penalty occurs. However, and you may have noticed this, the player who committed the crime only learns of his misdemeanor when the referee reaches into the pocket of his shorts and selects a suitable color Hallmark greeting card, which he waves in the face of the villain.
Gary.
That's how we tell them you got a penalty.
These are the best Hallmark greeting cards because you don't even have to read them. As soon as you see the color, you know what you did.
You got it. Soccer's the only sporting event I can think of. They got a guy running along the sidelines, one end to the other. Poor guy has to wave a digital clock. And that tells how much time remains for the players to do face plants, holding their shins, and how much additional time will be played because of these same soccer players wasting time flopping down in the field, feigning all those injuries. I wouldn't want to be the guy with the clock.
I like the guy with the clock because it's like a surprise every game. How much more time are we getting today?
I know, and I think that the betting should get on that. You should be able to bet on how many more minutes are going to be added to the game. Then there are the goalies. Now, the goalies in soccer, they are the last line of defense, and they stand in front of a goal. I'm telling you, Mike, this net is large enough to trap a killer whale. It's a massive goal. So, to make themselves as large as possible, what the goalies do, they inflate their hands to 50 psi. Then they tug on some colorful gloves. I mean, nothing is more intimidating, Mike, than a soccer player dashing down the field, going towards the goal. He's about to kick the ball, looks up, and the goalie's got powder blue Papa Smurf hands.
It's trying to distract the ball carrier.
That's it.
Yeah.
And speaking of goals, there's very few goals in soccer. I mean, holy smokes. The players are all flailing around down to the ground trying to entice the referee to pull out one of his Hallmark greeting cards, and those Papa Smurf hands are enough to scare the bejeebers out of the players with man buns. So much of the game is goalless, or as they say in soccer, 0-0. Now, 0-0 drives fans, willy-nilly. And finally, a player will score. That'll surprise the daylights out of the announcer. He lets out a blood-curdling scream, goal, goes on forever. Now the score is 1-0, so there's more willy-nilly. It's nuts. And the substitute players, what's with this? They sit at the sidelines, protected from the 45,000 drunken fans, and these substitute players sit in what appears to be a discarded plexiglass Kitchener transit shelter. What's with that?
I feel like it's a little bit like the penalty box in hockey.
Yeah, that's what I like. Anyways, some other things about soccer. Do you know there are 8 different types of shots in soccer? I'll just go through them, see if you know them all here. Okay, the first is the instep kick. You know that one.
Okay.
Yeah. Then there's the swerve shot. I don't know that one. Then there's the full volley, the half volley, the side volley, and then there's the flying volley, and I think that's where they sort of fly in the air and turn upside down and kick the ball all at the same time. Sort of looks like a politician slipping on ice, and we all laugh. But anyways, and then finally there's the seventh one is the head volley. Now, the head volley is also called a header. That's when the player uses his head to advance the ball, and the header also takes place up in the stands when 45,000 drunken fans have too much, and they do a header. So there's headers in the stands and headers on the pitch.
When do we bend it like Beckham?
That's about it. Now the 8th type of shot in soccer, this is the most popular. Everybody wants this one. It's called the kick the opponent in the groin shot. Oh, there's more soccer terms. They have a kickoff, and that's when the game begins, of course. They have the kick out, and that's when an unruly fan wearing a plastic Viking helmet with horns accidentally locks his horns with the fans of the other country, and he gets kicked out. They also have something called the throw-in, which is the method used to restart the play after the ball goes out of bounds, and they also have something that happens when 45,000 drinking fans in the stands, and that's called the throw-up. So there's all these various throws in the game of soccer. Now, Mike, there are also the chants. All those chants that the fans are singing up in the stands there. You ever heard them, or do you understand them?
Well, not being the biggest soccer fan, I haven't, but I have seen 2 TV shows, Ted Lasso and Wrexham.
Yep.
Welcome to Wrexham. I can't believe I couldn't remember that name. And they have chants, but I can't say them on the radio, Gary.
Yeah. Well, the German chant is Mia San Mia. Now, that must scare the bejeebers out of the opposing team, because Mia San Mia means we are who we are.
I like that. Okay.
Okay. The Brazilians chant is Usu Brasil Ero, which means let's go. And then there's and I don't make this stuff up, Mike.
I know you don't know. It's always been checked by the interns, too. Yeah.
That's right. Polish, their chant is Sędzia Kaluzi. Sędzia Kaluzi means the referee is a rubber band.
Something got lost in translation there, Gary.
There's something in that Polish beer, I'm telling you. Now, the Canadians, if you pay attention to the games now starting, the first one's tomorrow for Canada, we have two chants. The first is when 45,000 people stand up and start saying, double, 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 double. That's the Canadian chant.
I like that one.
And the other one is, sorry,
We didn't mean to score on you. Sorry,
Sorry about that. And then the other chant that we begin, I think you're going to hear this one, particularly the games in Toronto, and that's when they'll start saying, go Leafs, go.
I love it.
Okay. So now, surprise, surprise, there's already been a controversy, and the games really haven't started yet. Initially, FIFA said people couldn't attend, or at least couldn't bring any containers of water into the stadium. But then, after some pressure, the CEO of FIFA, the guy's name is Himo Shirgi. I like that name, Himo Shirgi. He relented, and he said that fans could bring one water bottle, has to be factory sealed, and it'd be a maximum of 590 million milliliters. Now, when Himo Shirgi made up the announcement, he apologized, saying he'd made a mistake about banning water bottles, saying sip happens.
Very well done, Gary.
Well done.
Well enunciated.
And in Canada, it's new to us here. FIFA, it stands for the Federation of Interactive Football Association. In Canada, it's always stood, FIFA means Feds Investigate Flying Avocados.
That would be something our feds would investigate.
That's right. Yeah. So we're all looking forward to this afternoon for the game, and it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be South Africa and Mexico, and I'm going to root for Mexico. Here's what I've done, Mike. I've made some guacamole.
I like it.
Oh, yes. I've made some. I'm going to make some Mexican tacos. I'm going to get some Mexican beer, and for halftime, I'm having burritos with hot sauce and refried beans.
You are really onto something, Gary. Cheer for the team that can give you the best in-game meal or snacks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, except for Jan, she's just dashing out now to get some Febreze room deodorant.
Gee, I wonder why, Gary. I wonder why. Oh, I love it. Okay, we look forward to next week. Enjoy the game today.
You betcha. Go Rangers. Oh, they've already gone. Sorry.
Go Mexico?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
let's do that. Ole. Bye, Gary.
Bye now.
Gary Chalk writes the humor column, Living Retired. He brings it to life with Living Retired on the radio every Thursday morning just after the 10:30 news. If you would like to read the column, you can find it online, livingretired.press. And while you're there, why not sign up to have it delivered right into your inbox every Monday like I do? It's a nice thing to get amidst all of the other things that you probably don't want in your inbox, right? So you can read Living Retired at livingretired.press and get in touch with Gary there as well. He's more than happy to come out to your service club or whatever event you might have happening and act as a guest speaker, provide some humor, some comic relief to the event that you are in the midst of. Living Retired on the radio every Thursday morning here on The Mike Farwell Show. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, if you didn't know it already, Farwell's force is continuing to grow, and it's moving quickly. A force for good, a force for change, a force to be reckoned with. And two of the ladies that we added yesterday, let me tell you, do I ever love the way they do what they do with this show. I'll share their story coming up on the Mike Farwell Show. This is 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. You might have heard Gary Chalk mention during Living Retired this morning that the Living Retired interns were in solidarity with me, waiting for the Farwell for Hire 50-50 jackpot to reach the threshold whereby I could eat butter tarts again. Indeed, I can, and so can you, for that matter. Go to Sweet and Savory Pie Company in Waterloo They've got a location in Uptown on King Street and at Northfield and Bridge in the Blackstone Plaza. And every dozen butter tarts you buy from there this month, $2 is being donated to Farwell for Hire. But the Farwell for Hire 50-50 jackpot is now over $77,000. That's a take-home prize of more than $38,500. And you can get tickets at cf5050.ca. If you get those tickets before noon tomorrow, you are eligible for a $1,500 cash prize from the Better Business Bureau. It is that easy. Take-home prize, more than $38,500. And you can buy tickets right now at cf5050.ca. Also, please don't forget, we are serving up smash burgers this afternoon at Four Quarter Butcher Shop on Louisa Street near Weber in Kitchener. 4 until 6, all the smash burgers you can eat. And proceeds will be going to Farwell for Hire in support of cystic fibrosis research. Would love to see you at Four Quarter Butcher Shop this afternoon between 4 and 6. I wanted to share this email I got yesterday from Lori because I absolutely loved it. I reminded you about the growing force that is what we call Farwell's force here on the show. Collectively, we are a force for good, a force for change, a force to be reckoned with. And Lori sent an email to Mike at 570news.com. Good morning. I was hoping to join your Farwell force. I want to sign up myself and my friend, Tanya. We work out at the gym every morning together from 5:30 until 7 a.m. Every day, we talk about what we had heard on the show the previous day. We listen to the traffic and the weather on the ones during all news mornings so we can plan our golf outings for the day. Then we look forward to the show in the morning to keep us entertained and educated while we each go about our morning schedules. We definitely meet the 15-minute requirements. My name is Lori, and I'm a fellow butter tart nut. Lori, love the email. Love that you and your workout buddy Tanya are in the gym every day together, 5:30 until 7, using this radio station. Get those weather forecasts to plan your golf outings. And the fact that you talk about what you heard here during your gym sessions the next day, I absolutely love it. Wouldn't you know that already today, Terry and Barry have signed on to Farwell's force. Larry, Mary, Carrie, it doesn't matter if your name rhymes or not. If you would like to be a member of Farwell's force for good, force for change, force to be reckoned with, all you have to do is listen for 15 minutes every day, any 15 minutes. Heck, if you want to listen to all 4 hours, all 240 minutes, awesome. But if you're listening for 15 minutes every day, you are welcome to join our collective force for good. Lori and Tanya come in at numbers 384 and 385 in sequence on Farwell's force. Just drop me an email, Mike at 570news.com, or give us a call and say, hey, I listen for 15 minutes a day. I want to be on Farwell's force as well. We are happy to add you to our growing force for good, for change, and a force to be reckoned with. An update is on the way from the 570 News Center, and then a couple of local tech companies merge to help give you better access to municipal services. I wonder how that access has been for you. We'll get into what this merger means coming up on the Mike Farwell Show. This is 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. Well, yesterday morning we had Kitchener Mayor Barry Verbanovic on the show following his State of the City address on Tuesday afternoon. And Mayor Verbanovic talked about how the solutions to today's problems are going to be found right here in the city of Kitchener. And not long before we had the mayor on this week, we had him on previously to talk about the city of Kitchener's strategic plan and how public engagement will be a key part in the shaping of that plan for the next 5 years in the city. All of this is by way of thinking about how you interact with your city. And there's a new partnership that promises to improve how we as residents are able to access municipal services. We're joined by Christy Guthrie, who's the co-founder of Municipal AI. Christy, good morning.
Hi, Mike. Thanks for having me on.
Well, thanks very much for making the time. What is Municipal AI?
Yeah, it's municipal, like a little pal. And it's basically AI-powered search that embeds directly into a municipality's existing website. And what this does is it unlocks all of that content and allows you to ask a question like, how do I get a building permit? What do I need to open a food truck? Where can I park downtown? Like those types of questions, real resident questions, and get a real plain language answer right on the website.
What was it that inspired you to create this little pal for us?
Well, two things. I was working in municipal comms, helping municipalities, update their content, update their site navigation. And I realized that no matter what we do, no matter where we move things or what we call things, there's just too much information on those websites to make it findable. And then at the same time, I was looking to redo my shed. I live in Kitchener, looking to redo my shed. And I had a couple of contractors come over, and everyone said the same thing, which was, don't talk to the city. Try to do this without a permit. As soon as you talk to the city, they're going to make your life hard. They're going to make you do this. They're going to make you. And it kind of had instilled this fear in me of connecting with the city. And like you'd said off the top, I just pay my property taxes. Otherwise, hadn't normally really interacted with the city in many other ways. And so now I'm kind of nervous. And I went on the website, and it was hard to find the information. Even it's there. I can see it now that Municipal is on the site, but I, as a resident, I was kind of now nervous to call because these people had been like, oh, you don't want to talk to the city. And I was like, we have to solve this problem because the information's there and people need it. Let's make that connection easier.
True story, Christy. When I did my shed, I kept it under the requirement that would have required me to have a permit. So I didn't want to build it too big because I didn't want to go through it either.
That was my exact question. What's the largest size shed I can build before I need a permit? If you ask that question on Kitchener.ca, you get a really clear and easy answer.
Well, and that's because Municipal AI is being used at Kitchener.ca, right?
Yeah, all the Kitchener websites. So KitchenerUtilities.ca, Downtown Kitchener, the Odd, Kitchener Cemeteries, they all have a Municipal AI search bar now.
How do you ensure the accuracy of the responses that your AI technology is providing?
I mean, it's such a good question, and this is at the heart of the thing, right? If the AI can't give accurate answers, it goes against what I'm trying to do, what we're trying to do, which is make those connections easy. So we've got kind of 3 layers of protection. First, it's a closed-loop system. So our AI-powered search only draws from the municipality's website. It doesn't get information from Google or from ChatGPT. It's only based on the information that's on the site. And then we've trained it. So we've trained the search bar on municipal content, which is specific. So we've run hundreds, thousands now of questions and answers through to train the tech on what a good question and what a good answer looks like. And then we've built in so many guardrails for questions about medical, legal, real estate, making sure it doesn't answer any of those inappropriately or open you up to liability. We also have this appropriateness filter on there, right? So if somebody goes on and says, why is the mayor such an idiot, or like something inappropriate like that, the AI is not going to answer, great question, here are some decisions the mayor's made, right? It's built to be just like someone on your customer service team that would answer accurately, honestly, with relevant, helpful answers that are always appropriate.
So I mentioned at the outset, Christy, that there's a partnership that promises to improve even further the way we access municipal services. Obviously, Municipal has been a great help as we navigate City of Kitchener websites, but you have recently partnered with GovStack. What is that partnership all about?
Yeah, it's a strategic alliance partnership. Sounds very exciting for us and hopefully to other people as well. So GovStack is one of Canada's largest and most well-known platforms for municipal websites. And it's developed and supported by GHD, which is another Waterloo-based company. They've been around 100 years, very far from a AI startup. And so together, we're just making it easier to implement these for the city, making it fast, less expensive to just slot this AI-powered search directly into their existing websites.
You mentioned that GHD, also a Waterloo-based business, so both yours and GovStack, Waterloo-based. What does that tell us about the ecosystem for nurturing startups in this region, Christy?
I mean, it's been incredible. This isn't just an entrepreneurial town. It's not just an idea. It's really in action. Like the people, the other founders that I talk to, they're so open-handed. They're so eager and excited to help and share and bring people along on their journeys, share what they're doing. And, when you pair that kind of collaborative spirit with the resources we get from Communitech and organizations like that, it feels like we're not building this alone, but in the spirit of collaboration as a region. So it's been really exciting to work alongside others doing the same types of things. You mentioned that you've got Municipal AI working across platforms in the city of Kitchener. Where else is your technology being implemented? We're live on Leamington, city of Kawartha Lakes, and then we're going live later this month on our first non-Ontario website in Sechelt, BC. And then we're having conversations every day with municipalities across Ontario, across the country. So hopefully you'll see more of us soon.
It's fascinating work, and I really appreciate the time you've made for the show today, Christy. Thank you very much for being here.
My pleasure. Thanks so much.
Enjoy your day. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Christy Guthrie is the co-founder of Municipal AI. It is the driving force behind the ease with which you can now access information on the City of Kitchener's website, for example. And I love the answer around ensuring the accuracy of what the AI is reporting back to you when you ask that question. And the questions that were asked to ensure that the artificial intelligence wasn't giving results that could provide some level of liability for the municipality, right? Medical, legal, etc. And hey, why is the mayor such a dum-dum? On that point, if I just can, go ahead and try asking the AI that question and get the non-response. But let's remember something I touched on at the beginning of the show today. It is absolutely fine for us. In fact, I think in a democracy, it's important for us to express our displeasure or disagreement with decisions that are made by our elected leaders. But there has to be a limit when it comes to how far we take our expressions of displeasure or disagreement. There's been wide reporting on the kinds of things that have been said, not only to Cambridge Mayor Jan Liggett, but to staff at the City of Cambridge. And they are so beyond the pale. I want to be shocked that we are capable of such things. Sadly, I'm not, but I really hope we can course correct on this and just bring back more civility to our disagreements. Our friend John Malloy, actually, the director of the Center for Public Ethics at Martin Luther University College, has started a new podcast that's about that very thing, disagreeing, but in a more civil manner, because we have really, I think the scales have tipped. And again, just the stuff that we have heard was directed towards Cambridge Mayor Jan Liggett, just completely, full stop, unacceptable. I think, and I maintain, that Mayor Jan did wrong when she interrupted Sophie Mills's speech at the raising of the pride flag. And we can say that. I will say that. But that's it. It doesn't mean I'm going to call Mayor Jan a name or assign a label to her of some kind. I'm just saying, I think you done wrong. And here's why I think you done wrong. But anyway, when Christy mentioned that about what the artificial intelligence will not return by way of results with Municipal AI, why is the mayor doing such dumb things? It's a good safeguard. And if artificial intelligence can safeguard like that, then the supercomputer between our ears should be able to do a better job as well. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to stay along the lines of technology. And as you probably have heard, the federal government is going to table legislation that would ban social media platforms for children under the age of 16. What do you think of the idea? We'll have the conversation next on the Mike Farwell Show. This is 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. Can I make the comparison to tobacco, alcohol? Specifically tobacco, when I think the tobacco companies knew full well the health risks associated with use of their product, but were more than happy to promote the HE double hockey sticks out of it until the rest of us caught on. I find us in a similar situation now when it comes to social media. And, you know, I go back to the origins, the early days when it was actually a manager here at the radio station that insisted we as reporters at the time all be on what was then called Twitter, is now called X. That was my first real foray into that platform. My foray into Facebook, if you can believe it, was all around Farwell for hire. And the young people who were volunteers on a TV show that I was hosting on Rogers TV way back when said, you know, Mike, that would be a really powerful platform, Facebook, to spread the word about your fundraising campaign. That's the reason. I was motivated by a manager and people younger than myself. But I think about this, and I've had these conversations over the years. I mean, is it really the platform's fault, or is it the way that we use the platform that has become the biggest problem? And I'm starting to lean more towards the former, and it being the platform's fault. For those of us old enough to know better, it's a different story. But for younger people, that dopamine hit that comes with the likes and the comments that arrive on social media posts and the flashing red light or the notification that there is a message or a comment waiting for you to see. They have retrained the brains of young people, these social media platforms, as far as I'm concerned. And I think big tech knew full well what it was doing when they built these systems. Well, we're trying here in Canada, and we're following the lead of other nations, including Australia, to close the barn door. I think, though, the horse has not only left, but it is galloping away down the lane. So far, we can barely see it anymore. But this is what Mark Miller, Canada's culture minister, had to say yesterday.
We're failing our children. Enough is enough. Parents cannot face these challenges alone, and the safety of children can't be an afterthought. We need basic protection in place so every child in this country can be safe on platforms they use every day. This is why we are introducing the Safe Social Media Act. The Act will establish a minimum age of 16 to have a social media account. The Act will require social media platforms and AI chatbot services to do more to protect children and make their platforms safe by design. Social media and AI chat platforms will have a responsibility to protect children from harmful content, including content that promotes self-harm, sexual exploitation, violence, hatred, bullying, or the non-consensual sharing of intimate images. Social media services will have to remove, within 24 hours, content that sexually victimizes a child or shares intimate content without consent, including sexually explicit deepfakes. And AI chatbot services will be required to mitigate the risk of chatbot communicating harmful content that have clear protocols in place when a user expresses an intention to harm themselves or others. They too will have to be safe by design. Platforms will have to be transparent and accountable to Canadians and submit publicly disclosed digital safety plans to the Digital Safety Commission. The measures in this bill represent, in my view, the basic expectation that parents and Canadians for keeping their kids safe online. I believe all parties should agree on the importance of these minimum safeguards.
That is Mark Miller, Canada's Minister of Identity and Culture, announcing the ban on social media for kids under the age of 16. Do you think we're moving in the right direction here? 519-570-2545, star 570, and 1-800-570-5715. I firmly believe today, I didn't always believe this, but I firmly believe it now, that these technology companies knew exactly what they were doing. That old saying of if the platform is free, quote unquote, for you to use, then you are the product, right? And that's absolutely the case. We have been manipulated, and particularly our young people have been manipulated by these platforms and by all of the methods that big tech has used to essentially hook them. There is such a thing as phone and social media addiction, and I firmly believe it was by design. So here we are. Can you put the horse back in the barn is a big question in all of this. And I'm not certain that you can, quite frankly. Do I think this is at least a step in the right direction? Sure. I think it has to be very strict and strong in holding the social media companies and the big technology companies to account, and how that all plays out, if it comes to that, whereby the liability is assumed and fines are levied against the platforms. That remains to be seen how that would play out in court, legislation or no legislation. But you hear what Minister Miller is saying about chatbots, for example, and the harmful content. We only have to look at what happened in Tumbler Ridge, British Columbia, and the horrible stories to come out after the fact about the person who carried out the shooting and the questions that it asked through ChatGPT, and it never got flagged. The information that this chatbot provided to this young person and the platform never flagged the issue. That is a frightening prospect. I also think in all of this that young people are going to find a way. I don't know how relevant the example is, but when I was a kid, my parents were pretty strict about what kinds of movies that I saw. They all had ratings on them, right? From PG to AA, we used to have adult accompaniment, unless you were over the age of 14. And then, of course, the restricted, the R-rated movies. You had to be 18. Well, I had a buddy whose parents didn't care, and I got to see all the R-rated movies I wanted over at his place. So I don't know how relevant that is in this respect, but I think kids will find a way to get around the safeguards that are put in place. And I worry a little bit that parents are going to think, oh, now the problem's solved. And I think what parents are doing at home has to be complementary to what the federal government is trying to do with this legislation. We shall see. I have to get you to the 570 News Center for an update. And then Thursday mornings, 11:30, time for the Flipside. And did you hear what old show is getting a reboot thanks to Seth Rogen, of all people? It's a Canadian classic. It just got me thinking, what other shows would you like to see rebooted? We'll talk about it on the Flipside. Coming up on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. The flip side is that time of week where we take a break from the heavier stuff, have a little bit of fun together here on the show. And today, on the flip side, we are going to take a look back, a little trip down memory lane to those TV shows that we used to watch and that we used to love, and that maybe we miss just enough to wish that they would be rebooted for a modern audience. I don't know if you have yet heard. I got this little tidbit from my friends at Chime 96.7, Brady and Tara, the other day. the show that is being brought back, and none other than everyone's favorite stoner, Seth Rogen, is going to be in charge of it. But this is the show he intends to bring back. I think you're going to figure it out even from the theme song.
There's a voice that keeps on calling me. Down the road is where I'll always be. Every stop I make a new friend. Can't stay for long, just turn around and I'm gone again. Maybe tomorrow I'll wanna settle down. Until tomorrow I'll just keep moving on.
Oh, maybe tomorrow. That is the theme song from The Littlest Hobo, which is going to be rebooted for a modern audience. Now, my best buddy was a huge fan. I think he actually lives the life of The Littlest Hobo, except he's not a dog. But he just goes from place to place. That's all the guy does. He has no fixed address. I'm not making this up. He just goes places. I think when he watched The Littlest Hobo as a kid, he thought, wow, that dog's really got the life. No commitments, no attachments, no permanent address. Off he goes. And he loved the show so much. I was pretty excited when I heard this. I thought, that's pretty cool. Let's bring The Littlest Hobo back. I have fond memories of it. My buddy was very, very adamant that they best remember that this show was geared towards 10-year-olds, and they shouldn't make it so that it's nostalgic for 50-year-olds today. I don't know. I mean, if or when it comes back, I'm going to check it out, and I wouldn't mind it having a little bit of something in there for me to enjoy. That's part of the nostalgia, right? Anyway, Littlest Hobo is getting a reboot. If you think back on shows that you used to watch and would love to see a reboot of, what show would you like to see rebooted? 519-570-2545. Star 570 and 1-800-570-5715. We'll start with George. Good morning, George.
Good morning, Mike. How you keeping?
I'm keeping pretty well. How are you?
Good. I have to let you know I'm older than you a little bit, and I'm embarrassed to tell you this. I was a late teenager and loving that show, Littlest Hobo.
Nothing wrong with that. Do not be embarrassed about that, my friend. No way.
Embarrassed. I didn't tell too many of my friends, but I love that show. I'd watch every episode, but the one I like to see come back, and I think it has a lot of relevance. I'm sorry, to what we're living through in Canada would be King of Kensington.
Oh, King of Kensington. Now, I never watched that one, but I can see what you mean.
Oh, yeah, it's changed so much. It used to be Portuguese, Italian. Now it's like every other nationalities in that area.
Interesting. King of Kensington. Let's reboot that one, eh?
For sure.
All right, George. Thanks for the call. Good to hear from you today. Another Canadian show, if I'm not mistaken, The King of Kensington. Littlest Hobo is being rebooted. George says, let's reboot King of Kensington. What about you? The show that you once watched that you would love to see rebooted? Do you want to just go back and revisit it? It's kind of like Saved by the Bell, the college years. I don't think that stuff works so well. And I thought about this in the context of, I think they called it the new WKRP, didn't they? But they brought back some of the old characters, including, at least for a couple of episodes, Dr. Johnny Fever. But Howard Hessman, the actor who played Dr. Johnny Fever, has now passed. I don't think I want to see another WKRP without those original characters. That would be tough. 519-570-2545. Star 570 or 1-800-570-5715. The TV show that once was that you would like to see rebooted. I struggle with this a little bit because I feel as though we have, and I've said this many times before, we have run out of original ideas, right? I saw this really interesting, where was it? I can't remember where it was. Anyway, recently though, this conversation about internet creators, content creators, releasing their own movies on YouTube or other indie platforms. And they're really starting to pick up momentum. And one of the producer, directors, content creators, whatever he was, said, he thinks that audiences are just getting sick and tired of superhero AI slop, CGI this and CGI that, and it's just another superhero movie and part of this big superhero universe. And he says they want real stories again, told by real people. And I can kind of get behind that because for the longest time I've been saying we're out of original ideas. How many movies have we seen based on previous TV shows? How many TV shows do we see come back for a new audience? Because it's almost as though we used up all of the ideas. I found this the other day completely by accident, and I got to tell you, it was an absolute hoot to sit down and watch the premiere episode of the one and only Dukes of Hazzard. I'm sure you remember Bo and Luke and Uncle Jesse and Cousin Daisy and Roscoe P. Coltrane as well as I do. But let me tell you about watching the Dukes of Hazzard, the original premiere episode of the Dukes of Hazzard, and how it would never, and I mean never, fly with a modern audience. You would have to polish that thing up. Let me tell you, it was so off color through a modern lens with today's sensibilities. These guys were good old boys in every sense of the word. They might have even been hillbillies. I don't know. But the way, oh my goodness gracious, Bo comes into the bar and puts his arms around his cousin Daisy and says, I would marry, if you weren't my cousin, I would marry you. And she says, well, that's not out of keeping with this family. I'm telling you. Anyway, I don't think it would fly today, the Dukes of Hazzard. But that is one that I wouldn't mind seeing revisited. Right? Just some good old boys in the southern United States running a little bit of moonshine and trying to stay out of trouble with the law. I know the show softened a lot as it went on. I'm actually interested in going back. Maybe I'll watch more and more episodes to see the transformation of the characters because they were definitely on the wrong side of the law early on. But eventually, of course, the networks realized that they had a hit here and Bo and Luke have to be like good boys all the time. Not good old boys, but good boys. You know, they have to be the ones you're cheering for. So they can't be doing too much that's on the wrong side of anything. But, oh my goodness, the treatment of women and all of the stereotypes that were in that show, that was something else. But would I like to see it rebooted? By all means. Especially what they would do when they jump the cars these days. Because that was still hilarious to watch. This car goes flying up into the air. You can see it come crashing down, nose first. And then they just cut to a shot of Bo and Luke in the driver's or in the front seat of the car, just, you know, being jostled around a little bit. Meantime, that car was destroyed on that jump. What was it they said back in the day? 8 different Dodge Chargers they would go through in a single episode of the Dukes of Hazzard because they just ruined those things with all the jumps. Let's get back to the phones here on the flip side. Glenn, what show would you like to see rebooted?
Hi, Mike. 2, actually. The first one, Canadian content, The Beachcombers.
Oh, I like that one. Yes, I like it.
And the second one, American content, Starsky and Hutch.
Interesting. Along the Starsky and Hutch lines, because, see, they went and made a movie out of it, right?
They did, yes.
I was thinking of Chips, which they also made a movie out of, didn't they? If I'm not mistaken. But how about a couple of Southern California motorcycle cops?
Remember that one? That was a good one.
It was. Eric Estrada and John something.
John something, I don't know. Anyways, those are my two suggestions, Mike, and thank you for having me.
Thanks, Glenn, for the call. The Beachcombers and Starsky and Hutch. Let's reboot them. And they would be easy, right? The Beachcombers, why not? Why not these stories from living out, they were on the Pacific, right? So just let's see the slice of life of, you know, working alongside of the water and a pure piece of Canadiana. And we could always do a Starsky and Hutch. Don't we always need another show that's got buddy cops? I think that formula still works. Francis, Farwell's Force, member number 36. Good morning.
Good morning. I got the real one.
Okay, what's the real one?
The U.S. is Bonanza.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
Cartwright and Little Joe.
I like that one a lot. But, like, how would we... It's still going to be set in the Old West, isn't it?
Well, it's not really the Old West. They do all kinds of crazy things. Like Haas, he was going to fly. He put some wings on and he jumped and he wasn't able to fly.
That's fair. That's fair. All right, Francis, we'll put Bonanza on the list. All right. Thank you. That's one. You can tell I didn't watch a ton of it. I do remember Haas. I remember Lorne Greene as the family patriarch in Bonanza. But I felt it was more of a period piece. I guess it was just because it was in the late 60s, right? My father loved it. Loved Bonanza. Walter, what about you? What show would you like to see rebooted?
Well, you and your father, I just stole my thunder there with that Bonanza. I grew up on that one, but there was a lot of them that I can think of there, Mike. But I'd like to see Petticoat Junction.
Oh, my gosh. My mom really enjoyed that.
Yeah, Ava, that was a good one. And how about, it's not a TV show in that sense of the words, but let's bring the Flintstones back. Every noon hour, every evening after school or something like that, and let the kids have a laugh.
Okay. Well, listen, that's the beauty of cartoons. That's why The Simpsons has been going for as long as it has, because Bart and Lisa and Homer and Marge, they never have to age.
Yeah, exactly. And only the voices change, I guess, over the years. Right?
And I remember even in the Flintstones, the voices changed from time to time.
That's right.
Yeah.
And then another one that I was really dialed into when I was a kid, and I've shown all my kids, my grandkids, and everything, is Looney Tunes, the original ones with Mel Blanc.
Again, when you think back on some of those, if we're being honest, Walter, they got away with some stuff, didn't they?
What do you mean?
Well, with the things they would say, the things they would do, like it was on the edge, wasn't it?
Whoa, Camel. When I say whoa, I mean whoa.
I love it.
Yeah. That was fantastic. How can you go wrong with that? You see the cartoons now?
Oh,
they make me
I'm with you. I get it.
Okay.
The classics. All right, Walter. Thank you. Yeah, good to hear from you. Looney Tunes. So Walter's obviously a little bit older than me, because when I started thinking about this, so I mentioned the Dukes of Hazzard, which I loved when I was a kid. And I just so happened the other night to come across. And when I was watching it, I thought, oh my goodness, I can't believe they put this content on TV and nobody tried to have them canceled. Some of the stuff is pretty ridiculous. It really is. But the idea of this couple of good old boys living their best life, trying to stay out of trouble with the law, I could get behind it. And, of course, I'm still a car nut, so by all means, let's have some fast cars with some loud engines and the doors that don't open. Although if you were watching carefully enough, every once in a while, you saw them open one of the doors when they got into the car. Anyway, and then I started thinking about the whole bunch of TV shows I watched from the 1980s. Like, what about The Facts of Life? What about Different Strokes? What about Webster? Right? And no, we're not bringing back the original actors, obviously, but we're just going to reboot the show, just like Seth Rogen is rebooting The Littlest Hobo. What show would you like to see rebooted? We'll take more of your calls on the flip side as we continue on the Mike Farwell Show this morning, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. In light of Seth Rogen rebooting The Littlest Hobo for a modern audience coming to a television screen near you, I'm asking you today on the flip side what TV show it is that you would like to see brought back. 519-570-2545, star 570, or 1-800-570-5715. To the inbox, Heather writes to Mike at 570news.com. I would like to see Knight Rider brought back. Heather, Farwell's Force member number 92. Thank you. I've thought about that one too. I sometimes think that Knight Rider is already here with self-driving cars and whatnot, but I remember big competition for the Dukes of Hazzard back in the day, right? 2 shows with different cars. But yes, Knight Rider would be a fun one for sure. David says from the old CKCO TV days, let's bring back Wally Walrus? What about Big Top Talent or Trivia Company with Johnny Walters, the late Johnny Walters? That's a good one, Dave. That's a good one. My beloved Farwell's Force member number 100, because she's a 100 out of 100, wants to hear or see Little House on the Prairie brought back. That was a fun one. It was just a simpler time, wasn't it? Teddy would like to see Married with Children get a reboot, much like my conversation about Dukes of Hazzard. Could you really, you'd have to tone it down a little bit, wouldn't you? Or maybe not. I don't know. Maybe I'm just way too sensitive these days. Russell says he wishes Netflix would bring back Mindhunter, which was a show about the coining of the phrase serial killer. Lasted 2 seasons, ended way too soon. I never watched Mindhunter, but that's what Russell would like to see rebooted. Let's get back to the phones. Michelle, good morning. Hello, Michelle.
8 is enough. Facts of life. And I know this one would never, ever, but All in the Family.
You see, I kind of like that idea. I like where you're going with that idea, because maybe we need a little bit of that, pushing the envelope in our lives, right? Oh, Michelle's phone just crapped out on us. But there you go. 8 is enough. Facts of life, which you could still do, right? Bunch of young girls living at a boarding school. 8 is enough, certainly. That's plenty of kids, especially in the modern day. And All in the Family. Oh, where is Archie Bunker when we need him? Grant, what about you? What TV show would you like to see rebooted?
Rockford Files and Family.
Oh, the Rockford File.
And I always had a crush on Christy McNichol.
I don't know who that is, Grant.
No.
Was she in the Rockford Files? I thought that was James Garner.
Yeah, she was in Family.
Christy McNichol was in Family. All right. And Rockford Files. So are those two different shows? I don't recognize Family as a show. Russell says Knight Rider was already rebooted and it got canceled. I missed that, Russell. I loved Knight Rider back in the day. Nathan's email to Mike at 570news.com says he loved the TV show Chips, and there were actually 2 movies. Chips 99 was a follow-up to the series and tied things up. The more recent movie was a reboot of sorts and wasn't good at all. What was, though? Really? No original ideas, Nathan. Nathan, though, would like to see Columbo and Emergency rebooted, but you could never reboot Columbo because you just can't replace Peter Falk. That's a very good point made by you. And Jocelyn, via email, says too many shows to bring back. The Facts of Life, Family Matters, Growing Pains, Empty Nest, 227, Three's Company, The Golden Girls. Did you like The Cosby Show? Roseanne? I never watched Roseanne. Cosby Show was an absolute classic. But I think what we're getting at here is we miss the TV shows that we watched when we were kids. Oh, and Larry, you're onto something here. I would like to see BJ and the Bear rebooted. I loved BJ and the Bear. And Who's the Boss as well. Why not? Why not have a former boxer become your housekeeper? Let's squeeze in one more before the noon update. Kyle, good morning.
All right, I know you have 30 seconds, so I'll be quick. Jerry Springer, bring it back, buddy.
Get out of town. This show is like Jerry Springer. You want to throw some chairs?
Jerry. Thanks, Mike. Have a good one.
All right, Kyle. Bring back Jerry Springer. Wasn't he the mayor before the show, or did he become mayor after? I think he was the mayor before the show. He was in politics. I'm going to look that up. Jerry Springer, there was something political, Jerry Springer, either before or after the show. I think it was before the show. I'm going to find that out. I'll find that out while we're listening to the noon update in the 570 News Center. And then our phone lines stay open to you. So if you know what Jerry Springer did prior to hosting a talk show, we're all for it. And we'll keep the phone lines open to hear your thoughts during the Talkback Hour next. This is the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
Take out the papers and the trash, or you don't get no spending cash. If you don't scrub that kitchen floor, you ain't gonna rock and roll no more. Yakety yak.
Don't talk back.
Just finish cleaning up your room. Let's see that dust fly with that broom. Get all that garbage out of sight, or you don't go out Friday night. Yakety
It is that time of day, noon until 1. We open the phone lines, allow you to have your say on the issues of the day, or tell us what you would like to make the issue of the day. Just going back to our Flipside conversation and shows that we would like to see rebooted. Scott says going back to the 1970s. Scott sends an email to mike@570news.com. And he would like to see Kolchak the Night Stalker, starring Darren McGavin, which was an amazing show. Always a crazy scenario he would wind up in. Never saw that one, Scott, but I'll put it on the list of reboots. I mean, maybe I should, talk to the network folks and see about bringing some of these shows back. And Reed, Farwell's Force member number 243, emails to Mike at 570news.com. I know I'm still young, but I have an old soul. I would like to see SCTV, Mr. Dressup, and The Friendly Giant all brought back. I love it, Reed. Those remind me, especially Mr. Dressup and The Friendly Giant, of days that I would be sick and not go to school. So there you go. One quick note from Matt's update in the 570 News Center. Yes, the City of Kitchener got some money from the province of Ontario today from the Building Homes Faster Fund, right, by meeting certain targets. Did you notice it was the parliamentary secretary to the minister? Because MPPs are on a 21-week summer recess, right? So I guess the minister himself couldn't be here. I don't know. But the other thing, just going back to something we talked about earlier today, and that was encampments in the city. I'm telling you that if I had any political power or influence in this town, if the parliamentary secretary to the minister of whatever wants to come to town and brag about some kind of announcement, you better be bringing money for homelessness. Not housing and building more damn condominiums. What are we doing about the homelessness crisis? Every chance I got, I would beat that drum, and I would beat it loudly. We have to hold upper levels of government to account on this file. I'm tired of it. I really am. You think you're going to build a nation? You think you're going to just keep building high-rises? Here's a condominium, there's a condominium, and then federally, we're going to build a pipeline, we're going to increase defense spending. Fix your damn cities. And you fix your damn cities by cleaning up the problems in the cities. It's going to take an all-of-government approach. I promise you, if I was in any office, sure, come to town and cut your ribbon, make your announcement. You better be bringing a big fat check for homelessness, addictions, mental health supports, whatever you're doing to get people off the streets. Upper levels of government have got to play their part. I'm fed right up with it. I really am. All right, to the phones we go here on Talkback. Tom is going to start. Good afternoon, Tom.
Good afternoon, Mike. Couple of questions.
Yes.
Maybe just a suggestion. Okay, let's go with the latest announcement that the Gordie Howe Bridge is not going to open. So why don't we just start funneling people over the Blue Water Bridge in Sarnia? Put a great big detour sign up, so then we'll close the Canadian side of the Ambassador Bridge, and people can go across this bridge in Sarnia. Yes or no?
The idea being what? To put the screws to the people that own the Ambassador Bridge?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I get you. Sure, why not?
Why not? Like, hey, why, like this is the whole thing, which I'm just saying. Like, and I would, to your point, I guess maybe I would open the Gordie Howe Bridge on the Canadian side and just let the trucks go across or the cars go across and put the pressure on the Americans to open the American side, seeing that they do not need anything from Canada. So they don't need Canadian tourists. They don't need anything from Canada. Remember you were talking about the cameras that they're going to put in the 4 intersections? You were talking about, was it the cameras they're going to put in the 14 intersections?
No, they're banning right-hand turns on red lights.
Right-hand turns.
Yeah.
I just came across, coming home today from Sportsville and King Street there. So I'm making a right-hand turn going northbound while I was making a right-hand turn going southbound on King Street. Why is there a driving school? I think there's something. I think that's something in the States where people who lost their driver's license or accumulated points would have to attend a night school session, but for a period of time to get their driver's license back. There's no consequences other than someone that unfortunately maybe losing their life, and then some of those things are a slap on the wrist here. I'm getting a little tired of everything about what's going on, and your point about the homelessness as well. The ability is there's no affordability. It's in different sections, and right now, for the ones on the bottom end of the scale, they can't afford nothing. Have a great show, Mike.
Thanks, Tom. Appreciate the call. Just quickly on the roads point, this idea just popped into my head. What if we all got deputized? So when Tom sees the jackwagon turning where they ought not turn, he can issue the citation. Huh? And if you get enough citations from all of us other deputies out there on the roads, because police obviously can't be everywhere. My problem remains with the banning of right turns on red lights, that it is a solution in search of a problem. It is that simple as far as I'm concerned, because the data that the region gathered in support of this pilot project to ban right turns at red lights showed the intersection with the greatest number of collisions being Fairway and Wilson in Kitchener. And there were 4 collisions over a 5-year period involving vehicles turning right at that intersection. 4 collisions over 5 years. What are we doing? Why are we doing it? Surely there are higher priorities when it comes to road safety. On the homelessness housing point, this morning when I was riffing on it, because I am very upset about it, and I was asking where our wartime catalog is, because that was legislation or a policy introduced under Justin Trudeau when he was still Prime Minister. And I would like to thank the local municipal building official. I will allow them to remain nameless because they didn't say I could use their name, but they sent me a link directly to the housing design catalog from the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation, the very wartime catalog that Justin Trudeau promised. I guess for me, like, it's great that the catalog exists. Is anybody buying from it? Are we building communities from this catalog? That's kind of what I'm getting at, because it all sounds good on paper. It reminds me, you know what it reminds me of? Here's what it reminds me of. It reminds me of the Fenn Sealing report. Do you remember? Former regional chair Ken Sealing and his colleague Michael Fenn put together a report on regional governance. And then it went and it sat and it's still collecting dust somewhere on a shelf at Queen's Park in Toronto. So we have a wartime catalog. We've introduced the catalog of homes that you can buy, purpose, whatever, however they're describing them, purpose-built, whatever, modular. And okay, we've got a catalog, but that should not be the end of the project, right? Now we have to incentivize the use of said catalog and find a way to allow communities to build from it, because I'm not seeing that happen. And this is enough years ago that you would have thought, like, if we want to get serious about this, wartime housing, right, which is something that I live in. Our house was post-World War II, 1953 was the year it was built. You know how fast those neighborhoods went up back in the day? Like, we built stuff. So I just would have expected that if we're describing it as this wartime catalog, that we'd be seeing neighborhoods popping up all over the ding-dang place. That ain't happening. Joe is next on Talkback. Good afternoon, Joe.
Yes, I'd like to see Lassie and Chips brought back.
Lassie and Chips. All right, Joe. I appreciate the call. You know, Joe's voice sounds an awful lot like Bob's voice from the other week. And anyway, you can use whatever name you want. I would really prefer you use your real name, but Joe/Bob/ whatever name he uses tomorrow is still talking about the rebooted shows. Lassie would be a fun one too. And Chips, I thought, why not? Couple of motorcycle cops. How can that be a bad idea for a TV show? Andre, good afternoon. You're on Talkback.
Good afternoon, Mike. I have to say thank you very much for you and your show.
You know what, Andre? You are so welcome. You know, I only do this show for your benefit. You know that, right?
Oh, you make me smile. But on the flip side, I agree with Obo. We've talked about it in the past on a couple of Flipside, and Obo will always be there because when you watch it, it's always sad. But then at the end, you wish that the next day is something new and helps a family. That's what he does. Right?
Maybe tomorrow, Andre, the littlest hobo.
That's right. And,
you're French. You can't say hobo. You call it oboe, eh? You had a little oboe?
Yeah, Cujo.
He's an oboe? Okay.
So a couple things I'd
Yeah.
like to say is I'm like you. Even when I was in Montreal, Montreal Impact, I was happy that they had Montreal soccer, but I wasn't into it. But my son has European blood in him, and he is amazing, like we spoke before. And he's really into it, so, I have to be supportive. Mike, I didn't call because this has been bugging me, but you've been beating your drum, and thank you very much. And that's why I said at the beginning of the show, thank you for you, because it's exhausting, probably, for being you. I know you're rewarded by amazing food, but this homeless thing is just beating me up and making me sad because the food price, the gas, the shelter, the rent and all that stuff. And it just seems that Mark Carney is not caring about what's happening here for us, or he's thinking about the future money-wise, yes, because he's a businessman. But I see a lot of people suffering. And what bothers me now, Mike, is how come, like we said a couple of years ago, how come there's not a rehabilitation center to put these homeless people who need help and make them work and do community service, retrain them, and all that stuff? It just seems so easy.
Well, it seems easy, Andre, when you put it that way, but we all know it's far more complicated than that. When you talk about the Prime Minister and looking towards the future, I will just remind the Prime Minister, I'm sure he's listening today. Dear Prime Minister Carney, you cannot build a country on a crumbling foundation. A chain is only as strong as its weakest link, and our cities are in pretty rough shape right now. So good luck in the future, says this guy. You get to say what you want during the Talkback Hour as we continue on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. I'm sorry, real quick, I forgot to look it up during the noon news, but Jerry Springer, a former city councilman in Cincinnati, resigned after admitting to soliciting a prostitute. So Jerry Springer and Hugh Grant have a thing or two in common. Then Springer did try to become the governor of Ohio, but that didn't work out. And then Jerry Springer became the legend we all know him to be in Trash Talk TV. This is Trash Talk Radio. That's not really. We're way better. We are degrees above Jerry Springer, are we not? 519-570-2545, star 570, and 1-800-570-5715. Talkback continues with Zoltan. Good afternoon, Zoltan.
Mike, we're maybe just a step away, Did you ever think of that?
A step away from Jerry Springer?
I have a bit of a, no. Not even close. I left Cambridge this morning to take someone to Waterloo North. And, of course, I'm 76, so by the time I got there, I had to relieve myself. So the lady that I drove, stops at Tim Hortons. So we stopped there. I said, well, I'll go to the restroom. And apparently someone had, rammed into the wall a few days ago. Not today, but a few days ago. And the men's restroom is closed. I went in. I said, look, I'll use the ladies' restroom. She said, you can't do that. I said, what do you want me to do, pee on the floor? I said, where is my, facility that you have provided for me? And I have owned restaurants in Canada. And, that place has not provided anything. Coffee is a diuretic. Why don't you give me some portable facilities so I can relieve myself and not let me into the store? They also told me, well, go to McDonald's. Go to that place next door who pumps gas. What is this?
Well, I mean, Zoltan, that sounds pretty reasonable on the part of the restaurant. This is circumstances beyond their control. And if there's a place right next door that pumps gas, I know that those places have washroom facilities. I'm glad you brought this up, though, because I think you were going to love the conversation we have on the show tomorrow morning at 9:30. A Waterloo woman's mission to ensure that we all have a place to pee. I don't make this stuff up. And this is the kind of content that we will continue to deliver to you, because sometimes when nature calls, you need to have an answer. And she is on a mission to make sure we have those places to go. She'll be on the show tomorrow morning, I promise. Preston Paul is next, Farwell's Force, member number 45. Hello, Paul.
Hello, Mike. Please don't compare yourself to Springer. You are not even close. that deadbeat. I never saw one of those shows. I just, it's like a soap opera turned up to 10. And it's just outraging. And shows like that have deteriorated society as a whole, I think.
I think you're absolutely right, Paul. And we really do try to stay well above that grade here on this show.
Yeah, absolutely. And, last week you were talking about, we're talking about music, and you said that ABBA wasn't your thing. And I know I'm 10 years older than you. And I'll tell you, if you were born in 61, Mike, you would have loved ABBA back then. I'll tell you, they were sweet when we were in grade 9, grade 10. I can tell you that.
Okay, fair enough.
Just like Daisy on the Dukes of Hazzard.
On the Dukes of Hazzard, sure, yeah.
I think it was John Schneider, was the Bo, I think.
John Schneider was Bo. Tom Wopat was Luke, yep.
Yeah, that's the guy I could never remember. But I didn't watch a lot of that. But I did like the cars in the show and the ladies in it, that's for sure. But what the plot was, I don't remember.
I don't think the plot was the point, Paul.
I don't think so either, Mike.
Yeah.
Anyways, you have yourself a great day, buddy.
Thanks, pal. Good to hear from you. I love that little trip down memory lane. Walter, you're next on Talkback.
Yes. A couple points, Mike. You're talking about the wartime houses and how fast they threw them up over in your area, and they're over here in the great city of Guelph as well. But you got to remember though, Mike, that was after the war. There was all kinds of people coming back that needed work, and the regulations and the red tape was non-existent.
Bingo.
What it is now.
Bingo.
And so that's why those things went up, so fast.
Yeah, and guess what, Walter? They're still standing.
Yeah, exactly. So that was my next point, is what they build now, the quality is embarrassing. It's terrible quality that these builders are actually using. They're hitting their minimum standards. Who cares? Hey, they're junk. So, anyways, also you were talking about how all these all the counselors are actually focusing their energy in wrong areas in a lot of people's minds. And is there not an election of it this year, Mike? Is that
that's why I keep reminding you, Walter. This is an election year. Yes.
Right. Okay. So my point on that is most people, not everybody, but most people haven't got a clue what their local counselors stand for. They don't research them. They don't go out, knocking on doors. And honestly, I'm talking from experience. I talk to my neighbors. I have no idea. I never see any of them. I don't.
I got it, Walter. I got to get to the news center for an update here, bud.
Okay. Well, you're on the same page. Thanks,
okay.
Man. Bye.
Thanks, pal. I appreciate it. I wouldn't go so far as to call the houses being built today junk. I just wanted to make the point that even absent all the regulation, the houses we built post World War II are still standing. Talkback continues on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. The Talkback Hour every day, noon until 1. We open the phone lines, allowing you to share your thoughts on the issues of the day. 519-570-2545. Star 570 and 1-800-570-5715. We talked earlier today about some myths around homelessness and encampments. And our guest from Waterloo Region Legal Services suggested that the solution to what we are dealing with is rather simple. We should just legalize places in our community and zone them for encampments. So that place would not be, for example, in Kitchener at Weber and Victoria, but it would be some other place in the community, maybe part of a park or whatever that might look like. But that would be the easiest way out of the problem we currently find ourselves in. And I've been pretty adamant about this. I think this is a failure by government at all levels. And I think truly the province and the feds get off too easily in all of this. In fact, I have it on very good authority that there are a handful, like 5 or 6 supportive housing projects in this region right now, ready to go. And the only thing missing is the operational funding from the provincial government. And oh, by the way, that's your provincial government that's on a 21-week summer recess. So guess what's not going to be coming in the next 21 weeks? The funding that these organizations are waiting for to get these projects operational. Like, how can you ignore the duty to your citizens so blatantly? And big city mayors met last week in Edmonton. One of the calls they made was to our federal government, asking for $3.5 billion to reduce only by half, imagine that, by half, chronic homelessness in this country. But the drum I've been beating since I got back from British Columbia and saw with my very own eyes there in Kelowna the same situation, the same circumstances people are in there as they are here. They're living in tents. They're sleeping on benches. This is Canada. And big city mayors asked for $3.5 billion from the federal government, making the suggestion, this is to battle chronic homelessness and reduce it by half, making the point that we cannot build the Canada of tomorrow on the foundation of today. Like, we have to get the stars out of our eyes with all of these projects and realize that the foundation is in trouble right now. And I fully support that call for $3.5 billion. I would absolutely support an emergency return of the provincial legislature so the funding can flow right here to our community for these supportive housing projects that are being held up simply because somebody's got too tight a hold on the purse strings. Do we want the solutions, or do we want to just see encampments on street corners? More than 2,300 people in this community today are living without shelter. And the number is not going in the opposite direction, as in down, despite the fact we are spending $65 million locally to combat chronic homelessness. It's utterly wild to me. And the province and the feds, in my opinion, get off way too easy on this. Way too easy. Mary is with us on Talkback. Good afternoon, Mary.
Hey, Mike.
Hi.
I'm going to say I would like to see a comeback of Sergeant Friday on the streets of San Francisco.
Is that Dragnet?
Yeah.
Just the facts, ma'am.
Oh, yeah. Well, thank you for the fact. Have a great evening.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye, Mary. Thank you. Mary just wanted to comment on the TV show she'd like to see come back. Do you remember when Dan Aykroyd played Detective Friday in the movie Dragnet? I do. I didn't watch the show because I was a little bit too young for that. John, good afternoon. You're on Talkback.
Oh, nice to talk to you, Mike.
Nice to talk to you.
First-time caller.
Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. I'm just calling on what you were talking about with the homeless and shows, actually. But why don't they use all this empty property they have, build tiny houses, and let them move in there? I mean, the billions they put out elsewhere is nuts.
It's a question that's been asked frequently, John, and I wish I had the good answer for it. Like, I'll keep trying to find the answer to that because you're right. We've got the better tent city with the 50 or so cabins out there on Ardelt. We've got the Herb Street, do we call it encampment, but the one on Herbs Road that's operated by the Working Center, and I think we're using kind of shipping containers out there. Seemingly, These options exist. Why we don't employ them more widely, I'm not sure.
I just don't understand our government anymore. I look at it and I'm confused. Like, you know, like they bring down the jets. Like, oh, can't use those ones. We want to buy new ones. You know, it's like, come on already. We have people starving to death. People on Yonge Street freezing to death in Toronto. You know, this is not a third world country.
No, it's not. And I think really, in some respects, John, it's a matter of priorities. And I'm not sure we see it as an urgent enough priority.
Well, I personally see it because I see these guys on the street and I watch them walk. I'm from Mississauga originally, and I moved to Cambridge, and I see so many homeless out here, and they're so forlorn. Now they're dangerous because you get to that point, you're going to bite back, right? So I just don't know what's going on with that. It just aggravates me.
John, I appreciate the call. Thanks for being a part of the show today.
Thank you.
It aggravates me too. I will say on the dangerous front, I understand that perception 100%. I'll bet you dollars to donuts. Not as dangerous as you might think. I remember, and I think it's time I did this again, I remember early days of that encampment at Victoria and Weber, and I went there to interview some of the folks who were living there just to get a sense of what their story was. And I was pretty intimidated walking onto that site, but I was met with basically open arms. And then just to go back to, I feel like I'm saying it too often, but when I was in Kelowna, but I was just there recently, and it really struck me how similar the problems are. And when I was walking home one night along this trail where there was some folks living rough, tents and benches and whatnot, and I was walking home, and it was evening. The trail was pretty well lit, but there was a small group of folks right in the middle of the trail, and they were doing drugs, bluntly. And I as I was walking and getting closer and I was approaching, and I'm thinking, how do I play this here? Because I worried if they're on some sort of illegal drug, what does that mean for their reaction to me being here now all of a sudden? But they could not have cared less. So was it a little uncomfortable for a moment? Yes. Did it turn out to be dangerous in the end? No. But I certainly understand that perception. It's a little bit unsettling, for sure. But I'll just go back to priority. And you know, I'm the guy that's been kind of harping recently, too, on if we only focus on the problems, we're going to be a pretty boring place. But I am telling you that we really got to focus on this one because we can't be an exciting place if we don't take care of these issues. There's got to be a way. There's got to be a way. Diane sends an email to Mike at 570news.com. She says, the homelessness crisis is not just a matter of resources or ideas, it's a matter of government inefficiency. If the funding exists and the plan is sound, there should be no reason for months or even years of debate and procedural bottlenecks. Homelessness is an urgent human problem, and treating it like a slow-moving administrative exercise only deepens the crisis. Streamlined approvals, faster decision-making, and a willingness to act on well-designed proposals could dramatically change outcomes. The longer the government stalls, the more people fall through the cracks. I feel similarly, Diane. What I would give to be at one of these tables where this gets discussed, because surely Prime Minister Carney and Premier Ford are aware of the problem. And if they are not, I sure would like to walk in their shoes for a while. Because I would love to see what kind of Canada they are seeing, what kind of Ontario they are seeing. I'm not giving you the everything is broken speech here, don't get me wrong. But this is such a big problem that seems to me so easily solved. Tiny houses, shipping containers, modular homes, whatever the case is, when we have billions to use here and billions more to use there. We cancel license plate stickers in Ontario. We give people rebates, billions and billions of dollars. How could that money not have gone into homelessness initiatives? How could it not have? That's the question I'm asking today. Grant is with us on Talkback. Hello, Grant.
Yeah, well, they shouldn't be on holidays for. Well, if you want to go for a week for holidays, that's fine. But I think all we need to do is calling the certain party up and tell them enough is enough. And like you said, why don't they? I think what they need to do their own study, live on the street, come on, and see what it's like. And Doug Ford can talk however you want to talk. But, and like you said, well, if you have eliminated the stickers, well, can that money not go somewhere else? And you must have money there to help the situation.
Well, we seem to have money for lots of things, right? We seem to have the money for private jets. We seem to have money to give people rebates on their groceries or on their license plate stickers. I don't see why the money that seems to be there for those things couldn't be redirected to these other things. And maybe I don't know enough. So I'm happy to listen to somebody tell me why the money can be, can stop being collected over here or can be placed over there. But I feel like we're just ignoring the elephant in the room all this time. Talkback continues on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. Our Talkback Hour continues, where you get the chance to share your thoughts on the issues of the day. Right back to the phones we go for Paul. Farwell's Force, member number 331. Good afternoon, Paul.
Hey, Mike, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, thank you. How are you?
Good. Good. I know it's Talkback, but can I do a rave here?
Sure you can.
Okay. I like the rave, the University of Guelph Veterinary Clinic, because I know you have a husky, right?
Yes, we have a husky boxer mix, but she's mostly husky.
Yeah. So my husky that just turned 6 almost lost his life, but they saved it with the called a bulla on the huskies. I guess it's kind of common now, but I never heard of it in my life. But anyhow, they're phenomenal, and those people there. That hospital inside is, honest to God, better than most human hospitals.
Well,
unreal.
What's your dog's name, Paul?
Coda.
Coda. I'm glad Coda is okay. I'm love to hear it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay, and go Rangers, go.
Hey, I'll be hearing that for the next 100 days, 99 days now, until the home and season opener on September the 18th. We're going to raise some banners to the rafters there at the Kitchener Memorial Auditorium. And Paul, I am glad that Coda is okay. Dogs are the best, aren't they? Dogs are the absolute best. The joy they bring to our days. And a shout out for the veterinary clinic there at the University of Guelph. Yes, it is Talkback, but that's the whole point. It's open lines. You can rave, even if it's not Monday for rant or rave, whatever. You give a shout out, talk about the issues of the day. It's just here for some conversation. It's like lunch hour at work. We gather around the old water cooler or the microwaves and we wait in line to heat up our leftovers for lunch and we have a little chat about whatever it is. Speaking of lunch, I'm actually already looking ahead to dinner. I know. You can tell that I'm the fat kid with a Smartie, right? Because I just want to think about my next meal. As soon as I'm having one meal, I'm thinking about the next meal. And later today, 4 o'clock to be exact, I'm going to be with my buddy Colby and the team at Four Quarter Butcher Shop on Louisa Street in Kitchener. It's right near Louisa and Weber. And we are going to be grilling up smash burgers between 4 and 6 today. And when you come and enjoy one of those smash burgers, a single or a double, proceeds are being donated to Farwell for Hire in support of cystic fibrosis research. So we're going to be bearing the humidity. I know you can too. And we would love to see you this afternoon, 4 to 6 at Four Quarter Butcher Shop on Louisa Street in Kitchener. This is a fundraiser in support of Farwell for Hire, and the more smash burgers we sell, the more money we raise for cystic fibrosis research. Speaking of the money being raised, our 50-50 raffle is, whoa boy, like we're just a shade under $78,000 in the jackpot right now. So the take-home prize, just a shade under $39,000. Here's what I'm thinking, and I'm going to keep this along the lines of food. But this is an opportunity for you, because you know what a wuss I am, right? When it comes to spicy and or hot foods. So you've probably heard of the show Hot Ones, where a celebrity is interviewed whilst eating some very and increasingly hot wings. And in some cases, they end up becoming incoherent. How many wings do you think it would take, or how hot would those wings have to get in order for me to become incoherent on the show? I am willing to try this. It's a little bit like Dr. Johnny Fever and Venus Flytrap when they did the on-air drunk driving thing to see how their reflexes changed the more alcohol they drank. Will I be able to keep it together, or will I be rambling incoherently if I eat wings that are too hot? We are going to stage our own reverse Hot Ones episode here on the show. If the take-home prize gets up by another $20,000 to $60,000, the jackpot to $120,000, I'm going to bring in my buddy from Ginger Goat Hot Sauce, and he's going to provide the increasingly hot wings to me while I continue trying to host the show. I don't know what could happen, because it might take 2 wings, and I'm going to be running to the washroom with a stomach ache. I don't know what will come of it, but I do know we want to raise as much money as we can for cystic fibrosis research. So the reverse Hot Ones. I will eat the wings and try to continue hosting the show. I might have to have... Devin, you want to be on standby for that one? You can just jump in, swoop in at the last moment, and host the show when I pass out.
I will do what is needed.
Attaboy. That's what I like about you. Don't ask Devin, though. You have to do it, not the other Devin.
No, the reliable Devin.
The reliable Devin, not your alter ego, the unreliable Devin.
Devon will be no part of this.
Thank you. Okay, so there's the pledge to you. If we get our jackpot up to $120,000, or the take-home prize to $60,000, this will be radio history. I don't think it's ever been attempted. Eating increasingly hot wings and seeing if I can still form sentences. Live on the air, we're going to do it. The Reverse Hot Ones episode of the Mike Farwell Show. Let's just see how that jackpot goes. It has to get to $120,000 or a $60,000 take-home. You can get tickets right now, cf5050.ca, and every nickel that goes into that take-home prize is another nickel for cystic fibrosis research as well. Almost $39,000 right now for you and for cystic fibrosis research, and also for you if you get your tickets before tomorrow at noon. You're eligible for our next early bird prize, which is a $1,500 cash prize from the Better Business Bureau. We will award that tomorrow, but you got to get your tickets right now. cf5050.ca. I'm going to get out of here. I hope to see you at Four Quarter Butcher Shop this afternoon, 4 to 6 for some smash burgers. And then I'll be back here tomorrow morning at 9 for more conversation. My name is Mike Farwell. You are a force for good. Bye for now.